All right. Oh, but we'll be live in a second. It's gonna be spicy tonight, I think. I have it's a full panel. Yeah, we're gonna be fighting it up tonight. Nova, you want attention? Nova, come here.
Hey, everybody. Hey, fellas. How are you?
Good evening.
How's it picking, boys?
Good.
How's my camera quality, Corey?
Crisp, very crisp as usual.
Hell yeah, good to hear.
I do not know what just happened to my screen.
Yeah, it looks like the StreamYard is doubling up. Or at least that's what I see on my end.
Did it go back to normal?
Yes, now I see.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what I did. I don't know what that was. I think it's a new feature or something.
Also, there seems to be like this
It's
background
so like
noise. It's
it's.
I agree. There's something annoying.
that feature that you just were talking about is that thing where they could go and like do like YouTube where you can have a horizontal and vertical stream at the same time.
Yeah.
It is that was me, and then I removed it. I didn't realize it was gonna mess up your stuff. So
Oh, okay. All right. Well, no worries. But
How's it going? I don't think I met you. Is it Radell? How do you
Riddell,
pronounce it?
yeah.
Riddell. Word.
welcome. Nice to meet you.
Nice
Pleasure.
to meet you.
nice to meet y'all.
so
Oh.
my computer.
I have a question for you, Hunter, if you want
Yes.
to answer. So, if I remember correctly, you are married.
Yes.
Okay. And so I'm assuming, but correct me if I'm wrong, of like you went through some sort of dating phase and like
I would-
established a relationship, and then you got married, right?
I believe that's true. I believe I did date before married.
If
That
you want to
does
consult your wife, maybe they
It
have
is.
better notes than you. But
Mhm.
I'm curious if you want to say,
Mhm.
like when in the build up to your relationship,
Mhm.
did you ever like, let's say, have a conversation of like, oh, we are now in a monogamous relationship, or it was like just the implicit assumption after this X number of dates, it must be obvious by now that we're in a relationship.
Yeah, in Utah, we call that a DTR, a define that relationship. or at least that was the dating culture. I don't know. Maybe I just knew a bunch of losers who use that terminology. Yeah, for sure. We were like, yeah, there was a specific moment where we're like, we're in a relationship now. I remember that. Yeah, I like.
Okay.
She kind of asked. She was like, which is maybe not the best look, but yeah.
Why
She
is
was
that
like-
not the best? As in, like, it's sort of a.
I think it's a
implicit assumption-
classically, it's a classically, man. That's the male role, I think.
Well, because
I think classically, I think that's fair. But yeah, she.
I think there's
she's
maybe like an implicit assumption that the man should lead, but I think the general trend would be, but I don't have any real data, but I think the general trend is like the whatever in a heterosexual relationship that's leading to monogamy. It's like usually I would imagine the woman pressing for it sooner than the man.
Yeah, that is super fair, and yeah, that is what happened in my case.
I mean, I think it depends on the woman, that's for sure. I know a lot of women that are like, oh, no, we got the roster, we got it going just right.
The roster? Oh, the roster?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the roster, bro.
Okay, so you had a conversation, and it was not
Yes.
just like, oh, let's just assume we're on the same
Yeah,
page.
it was a
Okay.
deliberate movement, action, moment.
Well, for what it's worth, but my opinion might be worth nothing. That sounds like a very mature and adult thing to do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah,
Um,
I think every step should be. My wife is really big on that. I mean, like, not that I've never not done that, but she talks a lot about like how she.
Well, you
wanted to
sound
be
like
really
a mature
deliberate.
adult.
Why do you ask? Am I sliding someone here?
No,
Would
no,
someone
well, I don't-
not do that, and I'm
Before you do that, I put the stream together link in the damn thing, so you can check a look at that. But you can answer that question.
because last week towards the end, although when after you had exited, like I because it was my intuition that Lacto would answer this way, as in they answer differently than you, as in their answer was, it's like we don't need to talk about it. It's just like it's just a given. We just assume that after
That's
5 or 6
crazy.
dates,
Yeah. 5 or 6 dates? You're already
the scenario that I outlined, if I remember correctly, is like after 5 or 6 dates and you have slept together. And he said, no, there's no conversation to be had. It's just, if you're not monogamous, you're in the wrong.
I would be real pissed if that was the assumption.
Well,
God,
you should-
that's
you
not
should-
the assumption.
Then when you should hash it out with Lactoid, because
Yeah, Blacktoid, bad take. When you get here, we're
Lacto
hashing
is
that shit.
clearly look. Sometimes not everyone has the experience or maturity that I do, and I don't hold. That
that's
against
true.
them.
And that's
No.
why it's not surprising that Lactoid does.
I think
is
it's
not a
okay.
mature
I think
adult.
That's
it's okay
crazy.
that I'm a better
5,
person
6
than
dates and a
Lactoid.
smash, and you're fucking
I
together.
low-key agree. That is like,
Oh,
hold on.
my God.
I would be fine if like things are really clicking. You're like, let's date. I'm cool with that. But like, that has to be an intentional, explicit thing.
Yeah, and like, what do we call dates? Like, oh, I took you to the coffee shop. Like, oh yeah.
Are we
okay, I
talking
got
about
you.
our conversation from last
Jake.
week?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
It's a
oh,
good
did we
take
go to
for
like
dates.
Le Cordon Bleu or something? Like, where do we go?
Cordon bleu.
Like,
Oh.
oh, you're like, what are we talking about here? Is a date? Like, yeah, there's a lot
Well,
of questions.
Well,
That's-
actually, even then, even if it's 6 coffee dates, Lactoid's rule, if I remember correctly, although I'll let him speak for himself when he gets there, is like even after 3 dates,
3 dates.
It's like,
3 dates
that
for
was-
him. By the third date for Lactoid. But as far as this is how I heard it. Before the first date, he's done with his last thing.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
So, why don't we'll just wait till Lacto gets here, and then I would love to excoriate him for any particular reason. This will be happy. And while we're waiting on that, $5 from my listening library says, "Did anyone watch the UFC fights? Justin is a beast, and Ilya, or I guess Ilya, is a way tougher than I thought he was. He hurt the UFC's plans by being their cash cow."
I did
don't
not
know.
watch.
Did you guys see that
yeah.
stuff about
I
NXT
watched it.
stuff?
I want to say, yeah,
I did.
and it all being fake news. Daniel Cormier said it was fake news. Also,
Oh yeah. Wait, hold on, Gibbs. They said it was AI, right? You agree? It must be AI.
I
What
don't
was
know.
AI?
So apparently,
The screenshots of corruption.
yeah, somebody sent Daniel Cormier
that
like
thing.
messages, like saying they were on Trump, I guess allegedly, and they were saying, "Oh, tell me who the fights are fixed," and then like apparently Cormier posted it, and like people ran with it as true. And then Daniel Cormier posted, like, deleted it and posted afterwards. He's like, they'll believe anything, huh? And like literally posted that shit right after. So you clearly trolled the shit out of these people. But I want to say this was a fantastic event. There's like all this liberal leftist propaganda about how bad America is has been totally demolished by the Trump 250
What
thing.
demolished? What's that?
Demolished.
What is
destroyed and demolished? It's combined together. Yeah, I will clarify just for you. It's destroyed and demolished combined. It is demolished, bro. It is a new fangled word and contraption. It's called slang, a colloquialism, if you may.
A what-ism?
A colloquialism. Colloquialism. Now, what I'm saying is, thanks to 250 and this the World Cup, the Europeans were not ready for what America has to offer. They've been led all astray, and they are amazing at how wonderful America. And this is reminding Americans at how wonderful we got
they're
it.
Not amazed about how wonderful America is. They're surprised at the amount of food they're like, what do you mean you can get free refills at your
there's all sorts.
There's a large.
It's not. I mean, it's
from
that.
McDonald's,
It's
and you
some
have
of that.
87
It's
different,
some
87
sure.
different types of Cheetos at Walmart.
Yeah, but then I see
minds
videos.
over.
No, it's also the culture. Then I see them in the back of like Black's Barbecue, and then I see them doing stuff like tailgates. They've never experienced any of this stuff. It's not. Yeah, the food's a big part of it. But food is a part of culture. But it's like also like the spirit and all these things. People are stopping in small towns and doing shit. They're seeing all the cool roadside attractions.
America's back, boys.
America's back.
You think what were the cool roadside attractions
Well,
that the Europeans were in awe about?
The one I saw that I was really enjoying was the world's largest gorilla that they went and stopped at, and then that was pretty cool. And then they stopped at another one. It was this one was San Antonio, but I think it travels. It's the world's largest inflatable duck maze. That was a pretty cool one.
Yeah, everything's the world's largest in America.
That's how you know you're in America, when there's a statue of a gorilla. We all know.
What about the inflatable Elon Musk? I mean, that was something.
Oh, Elon Musk is another one. He created more millionaires than anybody else in history.
Hey,
what a wonderful guy.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Gibbs, for the kind 33 months. Right. Thank you for being a homie, sticking with the channel. And beyond that, now I'm going to make fun of you. So, yeah. So, yes, what an incredible event that had barely any people show up. Right? It was like, as far as my understanding, maybe I'm incorrect. If anyone has better numbers, then I'll accept that. But 4,000 people who
it was a small event.
Yeah,
I mean, that was on purpose.
Yeah,
they gave away. They also gave away the tickets, like
it was on
by lottery.
And they couldn't get people to show up.
No. Hold on. The venue was filled. You know that the venue was filled, right? They maxed out the venue, and then they had people outside watching on big screen. Yeah, I mean, wait, hold on. It's not a stadium. They're not building a stadium. They built a small thing with few bleachers.
And then beyond that, right? Like it's amazing. It's amazing the hypocrisy of Republicans. Now, I'm not going to put this on you, Gibbs, because we didn't know each other.
And the UFC paid.
Well, everything is like Gibbs. Gibbs will take it. He'll take the bullet. It's fine.
Oh no. Well, I mean, don't worry. When I have things to blame Gibbs about, I won't hesitate.
I no doubt.
But I'm just saying I don't know what his opinions were back then, so I'm not gonna say that he had these thoughts. But conservative media, right? They lost their minds when like Michelle Obama was like growing vegetables in like the White House garden.
Oh, yeah, that was dumb.
How could you? Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm not putting this on you. How could you? As if she violated the White House, like the tradition and all that. Anyway, like first ladies are allowed to do whatever they want with the thing, right? As soon as not Michelle Obama, what's her face? Melania Trump came in, she just like paved over the whole fucking thing, right? Which is fine. I mean, whatever, right? It's okay. But then we have this fucking UFC match there, right? And all conservative media talks about how brilliant this is, right? What amazing moment for America, right? When you have like some hot, sweaty men like fighting each other half naked on the White House lawn as a spectacle, right? While the U.S. president is invested in UFC, making money on it, and the only place to see it, right, was Paramount Plus, right, owned by the Ellisons, who are allies of Trump, who have a merger in front of him, which he also approved, right? Like the corruption that was on display this weekend from the president that Lactoid voted for, incredible, right? Just incredible. But But
Big
as
fan.
always, as always, you hear nothing about this from conservative media. Only a few praise. It's just so sad. And then the kicker, of course,
Elon
right,
makes everybody rich. Too, the
was
kicker.
when,
I know that's the one that gets you the
that-
most.
Sorry, what?
I
What
said
did
I know
he
that
happen about?
I said though I know the thing that happened this weekend that gets you the most though. It's about is
And it
Elon.
should you.
Is Elon. It making
No.
all these people millionaires. I know
No,
pride
it's not.
is bad.
No.
I
What
can
do
feel
you
it in my
mean making
bones.
those
I
people
thought.
millionaires?
No, I really thought you were gonna guess what it
What
was.
did he
but
do?
you
Oh
didn't.
no, okay. I was just
No.
I was joking mainly, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, the thing, the top it all off was I don't know. I'm not sure what his name is. I'm not a UFC person. But that idiot who said that Michelle Obama is the man.
Oh, check that whatever.
At
his
the
name,
very
yeah.
end. Yeah. What an amazing moment to bring the world together. This was just a disgusting, like, up and down event, right? From the president that Lactoid voted for. Anyway, so like, go ahead,
Lactoid.
Admiral Gibbs, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the first, I believe in free speech, and it's a long tradition to have fighters say whatever they want afterwards, and after whatever they say is on them. Though.
That's not the fucking question.
Hold
The
on.
question isn't
I
whether
was-
or not he should be arrested.
I don't. I don't approve. I don't approve
We
of
can hear
his.
you, unfortunately.
I don't approve his message. Everything just froze for me. But yeah, can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I'll just fish out, then I'll fix my thing. But yeah, I don't approve what he said. I do like the idea that any fighter can say anything they said. We've had other fighters say other controversial things on both sides, like throughout history. I mean, and I think that's part of like what these fighters do is they fight so they can have a platform to say their stuff. But I mean, yeah, it wasn't the time and place. No, I actually loved everything that's happened at the UFC event. I thought it was good. People travel to see it. I've loved all the sporting events. It's been a wonderful weekend all around. I've
We're talking about the UFC
so much
event?
record. Yeah, I think it. Other than that,
I
which
loved
like
it.
I agree was maybe not like the best part of
course
it,
you did.
but I think that
Well,
like it
ended
went off
with
that a hitch.
racism?
It was
What was the
wonderful.
racism?
Yeah, bro, hold on. It's so racist that a song created for a movie by the Los Lobos band, well, that was Desperado, was played at the White House by one of the main events, like a main eventers. That's played. We have Spanish music played in the main event at the last thing.
Amazing.
Yeah,
It's
and a
very
guy from
Spanish
Spain. Oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
good. We had Corpus Christi natives, both Hispanic heroes, came there, walked all the way through. It's amazing that we had such a wonderful celebration of diversity with
What
the
was the
UFC there.
racism that's being
I
referenced?
feel like neither of
Oh
you have
yeah,
Paramount Plus.
the dude at the end, one of the fighters said Michelle Obama's a man at the end.
Wait, would that just be like
It's
sexist?
racist.
Not racist?
Yeah,
Hold
no,
on.
no, it's fucking racist, dude.
That's
like,
probably.
oh my god. And then now Lactoid's gonna be like, oh, what kind of bigotry is this? He'll like.
I mean,
literally,
I know it's
fight
bigoted. I don't know.
for just,
Racist is what
for
comes to
30
mind.
minutes. No, it's actually quite racist, right? Because we see this a lot when we're talking about black women, right? Like this is a common trope, right? To attack them on this. So but whatever, right? I won't have to.
I think he
introduce
did
you,
just get done fighting a black man too. So
Well,
Yeah.
but I mean, why
And
don't
he
we ask?
won.
Hold on. Why don't you ask what Derek Lewis
Actually, did
thinks
watch the fight
of
because
Michelle
he doesn't have
Obama? Why don't you
Paramount
ask
Plus
him what he thinks?
Because Donald
I
Trump
don't-
didn't actually do this
I
for
don't know who
America.
he is.
I bet his opinion.
I watched all the fights. To be clear,
Hold on,
the
wait,
last
hold on.
fight was incredible.
Hold on. I think
No,
you
I
actually bring up
watched
something
it.
very important here,
You
Lactoid.
watched
Lactoid, the
it.
guy he fought was
You watched
black,
it
right?
live?
Hold on. What do you think
watched it
Derek
live?
Lewis's opinion of Michelle Obama would have been if he had got asked? I would bet you what he would have said would have been way worse than what the guy that won would have said.
Oh, are there racist ass black people too?
I mean, wait.
Black
I guess you're saying
people-
racist against their own people now? Is that what
I'm
you're saying?
assuming he's black, actually.
Yeah,
I don't
Derek
know.
Lewis is like Akon black.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know who.
Oh,
he is.
hold on.
But like, yeah, whatever. Like,
Yeah, he's Akon
people
black,
within
yeah.
a marginalized group can engage in.
He's also like Trump's biggest fan.
Yeah, what a
Fucking
surprise.
cool.
Yeah.
Hold
like,
on.
amazing.
Obviously, wait, hold on.
I was rooting for him
Here's
the
what
whole time,
pisses
just
me
to be
off.
clear.
Gibbs, you're like, well,
I was
I,
rooting for
I don't
Derek
know.
Lewis.
I
He's
support
from
freedom of
Houston.
speech, and these guys should be able to say whatever they want. Okay, sure. I
Sure.
agree.
Yeah.
that UFC fighters should be able to say whatever the fuck they
After
want.
they win.
But maybe we
After
don't have
they
to
win.
invite them to the White House for a sponsored
But
event.
hold on. They did invite Sean Strickland, and they invite this guy was like the tamest of the wild ones, right? So they had like one controversial guy, and him and Lewis already had history. So they were like, okay, this is gonna be perfect, like because Lewis is Trump's favorite fighter, and so like, okay, perfect. He was gonna go in
he
there,
invited him
and
specifically.
so he invited Lewis
Trump's gonna have a
specifically.
favorite fighter.
Okay, I don't
He
understand.
he asked for Lewis. To be on
How
the
can he
card.
be his favorite fighter's black? This
Yeah.
is
He may
Yeah.
he
Oh,
may have
wow.
asked somebody. Trump's
Him
not-
and Lewis are like
Gladiator is
famously.
black.
I mean, him and Lewis are like famously
No,
like big
I'm
fans
just,
of each other.
I'm just speaking like this isn't even like about like him or not like him. Trump's not a fan of sports. He doesn't.
What?
He doesn't
He
understand
loves
rules.
fighting. He watches, goes to
Like,
every UFC
like
for
you,
years.
like you asked him, like he said he was a huge Knicks fan, and then you asked him to name a player. You couldn't name a player on the roster.
This
He
is
talked
so
about the
weird.
NFL. He doesn't know the rules of football.
This is
Trump's
why I
not a
don't
fan of
like it.
sports. I'm just
Wait,
saying
wait,
that
hold
he
on,
loves
hold on.
golf.
Hold on,
not
Bam.
a
That's
Knicks
not
fan
true.
if you don't know the players.
Hold on.
You're not
The
a Knicks
person who
fan.
said that,
like,
the person
he
who said
literally
that, they
like,
asked if she
multiple
named wrong years for championships right afterwards. The person that said that, literally, originally, the one that we're quoting, the New York governor, whenever she said that shit, so they literally asked her, she said in the next sentence, a wrong date for a championship. So, like, I wouldn't be sitting here sitting on a high horse going, haha, got him, when the person who brought that up and used that originally. I mean, but she's the one who made that joke before I heard anybody else make it. She's like, oh yeah, Trump couldn't even name a player, and then she says the wrong date.
I'm not making a joke. I'm saying
I mean,
Trump's not a fan
she's
of
the
sports.
governor of New
Not-
York.
not
Hold on,
necessarily
you think
the
the
same
governor?
thing.
You think the governor of New York's a fan of the Knicks? Probably, right?
No.
Probably, right?
What would that have
No,
to
I
do with
wouldn't
what
say
you're
that.
saying?
Well, okay, so if she can't name every player, names the wrong date for a thing, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, well, she's not
I
qualified to
said
talk about
no. I
sports.
don't think she's a fan of the Knicks.
Okay, well, that's crazy because
But
Yeah,
neither is
so
Trump.
what-
Trump's
what
not a fan
difference
of
does that
sports.
make?
Trump likes golf.
yeah,
He
exactly.
just
What? Thank you.
he's-
That's my
he's a
point,
big
Brian.
man.
What difference
Well,
does it
no.
make?
He made a statement. No. He made a statement, right? He's saying, Trump is not a fan of sports. Now, I don't know if this is true or not.
It's
But
not true. He
that's
goes
the
to
statement
sports
he
events
made,
all the
right?
time.
But then you
He goes to events
go
and he falls
and jump
asleep at
in,
them.
and he gives a reason why, right?
What does that
And then
mean?
you
I
jump in and say,
hold
Kathy
on. This
Hope
is so
also
stupid.
is not
I
a fan
fall
of
asleep
sports.
watching
But, like,
football every Saturday during college football season. Right? It's my favorite thing in the world. I watch college football. I literally do this weird thing where I half sleep, half watch, and I can repeat back to you what happened while snoring. It's amazing, right? But I do this every year
Right,
for
he
a
can't
half
do that.
year.
He's not
But
a fan.
how do you know? My dad doesn't fall asleep watching
I don't
football
care what
games.
you do.
Like this is what normal people do. Like you're acting like he's mad and going to an event.
Gibbs,
Like
I
I'm
don't
gonna jump
understand.
in real quick.
Shows
Why,
up at the
hold on,
event.
Gibbs, why is this a thing you have to defend Trump on?
Because he loves sports. Oh no, it's just dumb that to be like, no, it's just dumb. Well, yeah, exactly. Who does what difference does it make that he likes sports? I'm just saying this is like an attack. I'll tell you why. It's because this is just another one of these things where it's like y'all gonna attack him just because y'all hate Trump. Like you don't even like sports. Why'd you go to the event? Even though he's like clearly does like sports and
Okay,
makes time out of day to go to
jump in
these
real
all the
quick.
time.
I'm gonna jump in real quick. I'm gonna take. I think the first time I've ever, in defense of Trump, I think he likes sports. He's been at the UFC this whole time, and honestly, it discredits how much we fucking hate Trump and all the bullshit things that he does and all the constant corruption. We talk about these random angles like he
I
doesn't
agree.
like Trump.
I didn't.
We were
It's not
talking
about
about
liking them or not liking them. We can think about fact. You don't have to defend bullshit.
no,
He
but
doesn't like
he
sports.
hold on. He
doesn't. He
like,
can't name players. He can't name teams. He
It doesn't
know
matter. It
things.
doesn't matter.
It's
He
okay.
loves UFC. He was
Yes,
part
he
of that
does.
organization for like decades.
No, he likes that Dana White sucks his dick. He doesn't. He doesn't.
I
care
agree.
about
He was
it.
part of the
agree,
WWE
probably.
before they brought him in, and there was like Jim like he bought
This is
in.
a useless argument. I don't
Yeah,
know why
this
we're
is dumb.
attacking on this angle.
Because then why are you
I'm not
defending
sure
it? Don't
that's
defend
a
about
sport.
something you consider useless then. Because
I mean,
I'll defend it to the
it's
death.
WWE isn't a sport, but like it doesn't.
Oh,
matter.
here we
Like,
go. I mean, they're athletes. I mean, at
Whoa.
minimum.
Well, it's a
No, no,
performance
athletic-
of a
no,
sport.
it's
I
athletic
disagree.
It's a
thing.
performance of a
Athletic, It's not a
sport.
sport. It's not
It's a
sport.
performance
Like,
of a
it's not-
sport.
I think it's a
Yeah, it's a
sport.
performance.
So is
Yeah,
fucking
it's-
cheerleading. And that's
No,
still
there's
a
not.
sport.
Hun, if the
Cheerleading
winner
is
is
a sport. They have,
predetermined,
they have
how is it a
competitions.
sport? Like what the fuck?
I mean,
Yeah, it's a,
What, because
it's
you're
a performance,
practicing?
Gibbs. It's
I
a
don't
performance.
think that. I don't think that matters.
But if there's
It's
athleticism,
athleticism, but
The
it's a
athletic-
performance.
the
Yeah, I
athleticism
agree.
matters.
I mean,
Sports is a-
Yes,
sports is
wait,
competition.
that's what I said. It's an
Yeah.
athletic, right? It's athleticism. We
So
can
glad we're having
understand
this
that, but
conversation.
athleticism and sports are not.
I will agree.
not-
I would call
Sport
it
is competition.
I wouldn't call. I
Athleticism
wouldn't call.
is not a category. It's a trait. It's not really a category.
Yeah, I would call it sports
but
entertainment.
wait, but like
But
the
I'll call it
competition-
sports
competition
entertainment.
is what a sport is. If you remove the competition aspect, but you're still doing all the arobics, you're doing a performance. You're
hold on,
performing a
I-
wrestling.
hold on. I think
There
I
are
can.
no
Hold on.
performing
I can
fight.
bridge this. I can bridge this. It's so WWE is
Well, there's
sports
no
entertainment,
competition
right?
in
And then
the
sports
WWE.
are sports, but they're also entertainment. So there's like a crossover. I'll
It's
agree.
like
It's
social
not-
media
I'll
competition.
agree. It's like pre-planned. I mean, that's not a debate.
Yeah, it's
but-
pre-planned. It's
Like there's a heel, right?
I-
That person typically will lose. There'll be the most hated person. Or
Yeah, but
whatever.
he's been
Like,
involved in both like
like, there are
sports
things that
entertainment
go with
and
it.
like the sport of the
Yeah.
UFC since like almost its inception. Like I mean, like
Sure, he tried to buy the Bills in the '80s, but he says he's a giant.
He tried to buy the Bills?
It's not a big deal.
why would that
Doesn't
seems like he's a
mean
pretty
he
big fan of
likes
sports.
No,
But he
that
couldn't
means
name a
it's
player
an
on the team. He doesn't know.
opportunity.
He's a rich
What?
person. He wants to own sport and sports.
So
teams.
are you telling me
I
sports
got-
teams don't make a shitload of money?
They usually
Yes,
don't.
Yeah,
they do.
no,
It's
that's
the
what I
best-
said.
the best
It's
we
best
can
No,
ever
they,
make.
they genuinely
usually
don't.
don't.
They don't.
Wait,
They've
no,
been
who said
rising.
that?
Come on.
They've
All the
never
football
went down.
teams have been like
Yeah.
rising in profitability, right? Like if you bought it like 20, 30 years ago, Like you've made an insane profit.
There's no better
I don't think
investment in the
that's-
world than owning a professional NFL team.
That's
Period.
not
crazy.
what.
Like-
That's not the number.
I mean,
What are you
Yankees.
talking about? That's not the best investment of your money.
Yes,
Well,
it
Elon
is.
Musk proved
What are
that
you
wrong just
fucking
this
talking
weekend.
Speaking, yes, I was gonna say. Speaking of profit, who here's bought some SpaceX?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying. I am a proud owner.
Yeah.
I'm a proud partial
Well,
owner.
I didn't buy it out
Any
of
which way,
political principle. I knew it was gonna
Lactoid.
go
So
up.
I'm gonna my listening library, $5 from them. I do agree with Prime. Well, also great start to anything, right? You should consider that Lactoid doing that more.
Money
I do
and
agree
Prime
with
in the first
While-
sentence. That's win-win.
He loves it. He
While
loves it.
I really enjoy the event on the corruption of it all is insane. As someone on the left, I despise its right-wing nature. Thank you, my listening library, for both of those super chats. But yeah, like apparently Lactoid.
Corruption.
Hey, Lactoid, is this okay? Yeah, the corruption. Hold on. Yeah, because he's invested into the UFC, right? The UFC now on the White House lawn, right? On government
On the
property,
250th
gets
celebration
to,
of America.
Yeah. Like I don't
Well,
care
it's
about
Trump's
the celebration
birthday.
of
It's not
America part.
actually-
But like,
Also based.
well, like on the White House
And Flag
lawn,
Day.
like a government sponsorship of this event that he is invested in, right? And then you can only watch it on Paramount Plus, right? The platform owned by the Allisons, who have a business in front of Trump, Trump allies who've already donated to Trump, right? You don't see anything wrong with that, Lactoid, at all?
Well,
That's just
the-
okay.
The UFC funded it all. They lost money on that.
No, they didn't.
Lactoid.
I'm about to say the
They
security
did.
was paid
They,
No,
for.
they
Dana
lost
White
it.
came out-
The Dana White today said
Yeah.
he never do it again. It's
Dana White came out. He said that he lost money. I'm looking here. He
He may have
owns
lost money, but the
up
taxpayer
between
money funded it.
$15,000 and $50,000
Didn't pay
worth
him with
of
taxpayer
TKO group holdings. It's like nothing.
The security was paid.
Yeah,
by
hold on.
taxpayers,
For him.
like
That doesn't
$20
matter though. Trump is invested within the UFC. Hold on. It doesn't matter if if the scheme was successful. You know that, right? You already know that. I don't have to tell you that. So, Lactoid, even if they lost money, you can understand there's a level of corruption, level of conflicting interest here.
No.
Correct?
No.
Oh wow.
Corruption
No,
to lose
It-
money,
it-
man.
if-
That's right.
hold on.
Lactoid
If he has,
doesn't
if he
have
has,
principles.
if we have somebody who has as much money as Trump has, or any of his affiliates,
that he's
and we're
supposed to
talking
disinvest in,
between $15,000 and $50,000 is what he owns, according to his financial disclosures. This is just an AI telling me this. To be clear, I'll have to double check to see exactly how much he owns, but they're estimating between 15 and 50,000. Even on the high end, this is nothing that would, I think,
What
influence
difference
a
would that make?
decision to have the UFC
You would
at the
agree
White
that
House.
they
Difference
intended
would
to
that
make
make?
money from the event, though, right? You would agree they intended.
I
to
don't
make
think
money
that was
from
the
No,
plan.
I
they
no,
just
I
wanted-
don't think so. I think a big part of it is, like, let's be
So
honest.
they did an event
massive-
at the White
Random.
House and made a spectacle to lose money. Are
Yeah,
you
I
serious?
actually
Is that
think it
a
was
serious-
to
I
lose
mean,
money.
they just paid for him hella
Let me
advertising.
respond. Let me respond.
It's also like
Potentially-
resume building.
So
Exactly, I don't know
It's
what we're
it's
talking about.
politics. It's politics. So the UFC, whether you like it or not, especially the UFC, and really all combat sports, but especially the UFC, it seems like every single fighter is super pro Trump. Your average fan is super pro Trump. Trump derives a lot of his voters and a lot of his political support from, like, the fighting sport communities, and specifically UFC. So if you're going to have, like, yeah, it makes total sense that, like, okay, your ardent supporters love UFC. You're doing a giant celebration for the 4th of July, the 250th
For your
year
birthday.
anniversary of the country. You're going to have, like, all the patriotic shit. Before the UFC was there, they had motocross racing. They were pulling out all the shit that Trump fans like to watch. Yeah, I think it makes
mean,
total sense that,
I would
that
ju-
for Trump, a much bigger part of it was, like, the show and the celebration
Yeah,
of America, and him, probably in
Well,
large respect too,
also-
than it was some kind of cash grab.
Well, also, I just
Yeah,
want
it
to
had nothing to do with
add.
America.
I
It
want
was
to
not
add.
Trump's birthday,
Well,
and it
just
being
to add to
a part of
Lactoid's
it.
point about
And
them
it's Trump's
losing money.
birthday.
Just to add to them losing money, though, like, you also have to remember that TKO owned it, and you saw, like, throughout the day, they also had the WWE people there. They were doing meet and greets. They were also pretty adamant about keeping certain people out, like Sean Strickland, like, made an appearance, and, like, they, like, threw his ass out immediately, and he, like, ran off. It was a whole thing. And, like, he was the one that was, like, real controversial. Like, this other Oda guy kind of came in. But the other thing that you have to remember is the TKO is owned by Saudi Arabia for the most part, right? And you see, like, if you saw Riyadh season popping up, that was a whole thing. They're, like, pushing, like, yeah, it's the prestige. It's like prestige matters, I think, a lot to the thing.
Yeah,
we
hold
did an event at the White House.
Yeah.
Now, hold
So
on.
he's
I don't have a
along-
problem.
wait,
Hold
wait,
on.
wait,
But
with
Prime,
these
to your earlier
people-
point,
wait,
earlier
wait.
point, Prime,
By giving
is
them
you made
access
the
to the
point
White
about
House.
Michelle
One more
Obama.
question, one
You
more
made
question.
you made the point about Michelle Obama's garden and all these other people. I agree. I thought that was stupid when conservatives did. I thought it was stupid. And also, I'll tell you another one. What I thought was fine when I don't the couple times when they had events events. And remember when they had the rainbow pride flag thing? I thought that was fine too.
Oh, yeah,
if
yeah,
people,
yeah.
whoever wins, that person at the White House should be able to decide what events they want to have at the White House. I think it's really that simple. Like, I don't know why, especially if they didn't pay for it. And like the company paid for it. Saudi Arabia and TKO, they got money to
No, the
lose some
United
money.
States paid for it.
I would.
I mean, we made
I'm about to say again. I don't know why
Wait, are
you
you
keep
telling
like
me-
people keep saying telling
Wait,
a lie.
I need
that
a-
the
I need a
United
clar-
States did it was all paid for.
How do we pay? How did
I
we
would.
pay for it?
I would.
Okay,
agree.
I'll just go. I don't. Yeah, I don't. I don't know why people like. I know they tell the lie. Well, it's not really a lie. They say like, oh yeah, taxpayer money didn't go towards this. Dana White can't fund security at the White House. That's not a thing. Like, not even like if he wants to. That it was like 20-ish or $25 million.
Do you have a problem with them doing like stuff at U.S. bases like then? Like, because all these people go to U.S. bases to entertain troops.
No,
you have a problem with the
I
U.S.
have
state
They need
security
less
for
problem
that?
security.
with it.
They need less security than the White House. Not 20. They probably don't need $25 million in security for the White. Than
I have
like
a
the White
problem
House.
with it, but it's not about doing things. My problem isn't it doing things. I just think that's separate. I just want to make sure that we're not lying as well, or being
Yeah, then no
misinformed.
money,
Maybe
no
didn't.
taxpayer money.
It
went
wasn't.
to this.
There was
Ridiculous.
there was taxpayer money. A lot of taxpayer money went towards it. I think, like I said, it may have actually been $30 million of taxpayer money that went towards this type. I don't think it was about corruption though. I do agree with that. It's just self-aggrandizing.
No,
Trump
it's 100.
funded
No,
this
it's
event because it
100%
was on
about
his birthday.
corruption. F that. No, so
No,
like,
it involves
I do
relationships
agree.
with these
One
people.
second. Let me make my point. I do agree. That the winner should be able to do what they want on the for the most part, for the most part, right? Should get a chance to do what they want, right? Except if they're invested in the company, right? And let's not understand. They didn't get anything out of this. Oh, it was just from the kindness of their own heart. 4 months, maybe a year. I forget how long back he announced this,
ago.
right? Like it was. Let's say about a year or whatever, right? Since Trump announced this, they've been nonstop coverage. Well, not nonstop. It's ramped up, right? But like, there's been a ton of coverage on the UFC, right? The UFC being in the news, the UFC being talked about in social media, the UFC being part of the story, right? The UFC has gotten so much free advertising from this, right? Like to get this happen on the White House something that's never happened before, right? This is a brand new event, right? In this pivotal moment, they get to do this and then say that like they didn't get anything out of this. What are you talking about? It's crazy. And once
UFC
again,
did.
the
I'm talking about Trump
president
didn't.
and the president is
his relationships with these
this,
people,
right? And
Yeah.
but like before, that seemed to be a big thing. It seemed to be a big thing, especially among Republicans. About, oh my God, like someone might be invested and there might be corruption involved, right? I remember something about the a previous president and his son, right? And what they were invested in and how that might be a problem. Now, the Trump administration is directly invested into this venture happening on the White House lawn, and now it's not a problem anymore, right? Because they're hypocrites, every single one of them, including Lactoid, right? They don't have any principles. That's always imaginary, right? And once again, you get a chance to see it. At this point in time, when it's obvious, it's staring you right in the face, right? And there's plenty of more corruption when that came from, right? I got a whole list of corruption from President Trump. That's never a problem for the person that Lactoid voted for. It's these things are always swept under the
Trump.
rug.
It was Trump. I voted for Trump. Donald, in fact.
Indeed. Sorry,
And I look forward to voting for him again.
So,
You won't need to vote, but like you'll get to keep.
Hey, so you like, if you're gonna make the claim that they did this event with the intention of maybe potentially losing money, like I don't agree to that. I think that's ridiculous considering all the personal relationships there. I'm sure they really probably wanted money to be made from Paramount, TKO, WWE, UFC, all that stuff. But even if I were to grant that, and you made the claim that the personal relationships Trump had with all these business owners, and Gibbs brought up Saudi Arabia to raise the infamy, the fame, the notoriety with his base and maybe more people. Isn't that kind of raising your political capital using private relationships with businesses also considered corruption?
I don't think so.
Trump
I don't
doesn't
think
have
so.
no political capital.
Because the idea here would be like, well, then whenever any president goes to a NFL game or a baseball game and they have like private security help them to go do so, if they go do anything, I suppose at any kind of like mingling with the people at any kind of event where it's privately owned, which we're in America, almost every venue is going to be privately owned, then this could be seen as some kind of corruption.
Is that the same thing as the White House event?
Well,
in
the principle,
in a good faith way, would you consider that the same thing?
it is a good faith. In a good faith way, I think it is. I just looked it up. They expected to lose money. It's $60 million overall to put on the event. Going into it, they only had revenues estimated about $30 million. So they're going to take a $30 million loss. The government didn't pay for any of it, other than typical. Secret Service protecting the president, federal officers protecting the president.
That typical?
Whenever he goes to
Other
an
than
event,
doesn't really apply. in this
whenever he goes to an
conversation.
event, yes, you're going to have security there
25
for
to $30 million.
no, it didn't cost $25 to $30 million for
It did.
on the government.
You can
I'm
look at-
saying they
just-
lost. I'm saying the
do it
UFC
AI.
No,
lost.
the security.
hold on, the security, it looks-
$30 million.
Hold on. It says, I just looked this up. It says that they didn't add any extra security for the Secret Service side. The UFC paid for all the extra security needed to be required. So
Yeah.
That's not true. They
that's
brought
that's,
in
that's
police
what
officers.
I mean. I
The
got
UFC can't
articles
pay
saying
for
it.
White House security. They don't have the ability to.
What do you mean they don't have the abilities?
Like,
All they
I
had
don't
was the
think it's legal.
normal.
No,
the normal
this is
security
fucking
just paid for
no.
extra.
This is crazy now. Like the
Just look it up.
president.
Don't argue about
Stop.
fucking-
No. What I mean is, even assuming everything that you're saying is true, this is fucking crazy. The president can't have an event
And
where
it was
they're
the
not
DC.
paying for it.
DC was
They're
in charge
all
of
they're doing
security.
is the regular federal security people are like they're not paying for the event. The regular federal security people are like protecting them and like protecting the event. And the president's having the event, which is yes, of course, it's going to be a private venue, just like any kind of venue the president's going to go to. And it's a specific event to celebrate America's 250th birthday to the world, I guess, and to America, with a company and with an interest that the vast majority of his supporters support. This, I would never criticize Biden for doing this. This is crazy.
The fucking the
Did you
fighters
criticize Biden
are-
for his
some of the
Christmas
fighters are going to
thing?
be paid in like
No.
the World Liberty
Mm.
coin, right? Trump's crypto.
All
Like,
When have I
what the
when have I ever criticized? So like every single year, presidents will have like a Halloween, or they'll have like a Christmas, where they're out in the front of the White House and they're handing out candy, or they're handing
They're
out
handing
presents,
out
or whatever the fuck.
crypto.
Yeah, and they have security there.
they're
You're not going
handing
to
out
find
the
you're not
crypto.
going to find a single instance of me saying, "Well, no, it's a corruption." Like, who paid for those candies? Isn't that corruption with Kit Kat? I don't know.
Did they
Stop.
pay for
Like,
with Trump crypto? That's important, right? Did they pay with Trump crypto? Did that happen? Like,
I'll
come on,
look
like,
that
what are you
up. I'm
talking
not
about?
aware of the
Like,
fact whether they
World
paid for
Liberty,
with Trump
coin,
crypto
some of them are
specifically.
being paid with World Liberty coin. Like, what are we talking about here?
I think
Like,
all of
like
Based.
Did they
this-
did they
this
request
is
that payment? I mean, what?
crazy. This
Hold
is
on.
crazy.
Yeah. What if
right?
they
Like,
hold on? What if they request that payment?
yet another venture that the president is invested in.
Wait.
Wow.
If the fighters
Things
request that,
coming.
then whose fault is that? Is that problem?
They didn't request that.
I mean,
I don't know.
hypothetically, if they
Is it
did,
the
I don't know
money?
if they did or not. We don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if they did. I have no.
But if
idea.
they did,
I
what
mean,
would,
they
would
are
that
Trump
change?
supporters, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, if they did,
Every
hypothetically,
single
would that
one of them was a
change
major
the
Trump
anger?
supporter.
Like, hold on, let's just say Prime
Sure,
is right.
even
here.
like,
But
I want to
hundred-
get paid.
Yeah,
not
again, I
Bitcoin,
wouldn't be
in
surprised.
Trump coin?
In some meme coin,
No,
yeah.
they didn't do that.
Yeah, Trump cuts a cut of all the financial of the transaction fees.
So even
right?
if the
That's
fighter
his-
requested,
that's what he gets for owning World Liberty coin, right? So money goes
Before
into his
we
pocket. Like,
even,
what are we
I'm not going to
doing
bake
here?
an assumption until you can find some proof of it, because there's no reason to believe that they requested it.
I mean,
No.
they are all Trump supporters.
You
I
have
mean,
to look
I don't
it up.
know. Like, I
You
mean,
have to look it
Yeah.
up.
wait, hold on.
I'm
Why do I? Hold on,
Oh, wait a minute.
Hold on, Bam. Actually, that's
No,
not
they
no, no,
were
no.
not paid in a meme
No,
coin.
hold on, Brock. Before you answer
this is
this,
a lie.
I want to respond to what Bam just said. All right, you just said
This
they
is
were
not
paid
even true.
in the Trump coin, and okay, we're supposed to take that to face. I said hypothetically,
weren't.
in a thought exercise. Hold on, I know. And a thought exercise. What if they requested it? And because this doesn't seem out of the ballpark for some of these guys. So at face value, sure, I don't have any proof, but it doesn't seem like whatever. However,
These
we're
fighters
supposed to
are
take your
retarded, you're right.
claims that like are serious. Like I'm not gonna in that case, I'm not gonna engage anytime you don't have proof that I'm not gonna accept. Like that's bad faith. Don't be bad faith.
I
That's
wanna-
fair. I
wanna
think
be-
you're allowed to ask that. I can be annoyed, but if I'm making a high stakes claim, I think you can ask for me to like demonstrate something before you continue. And then
I mean, we had
That's
y'all
what
were
I
just
think.
saying a guy bitching about a guy like talking about Michelle Obama up there. You're saying it's out of the realm of possibility that guy asked for Liberty Coin? Like, come on.
One
Yeah,
second.
that's what I'm
I
saying.
want
That's what I'm
to
saying.
just one second. I'll go to you like right next. I just want to get the super chat out of the way. Thank
Okay.
you, my listening library, for another $5. Really kind of you for the support. Thank you so much. It says Dana used the UFC to help revitalize Trump after January 6th. They have been using the UFC as a political tool for him since that point. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know he's
I
like
would call
shown
that
up there. I know
corruption.
he's like a big. I know they're
Mhm.
close, right? Like he's a big Trump fan, and like and they're correct. All of these guys are correct to say that like almost like the whole UFC, like in their fan base, right? That's very much Trump. I'm not sure how this revitalized him. I'm curious what you have to say about that. Like in what way they
Well,
did that, but you know,
You every time Trump goes to the event, right? It's
Oh,
all
it's the same
these
before.
streamers that are there that are taking pictures that are happy to see him. It's Aiden Ross, it's the Nelk boys, it's all the people that are kind of like semi-associated with the UFC, especially for like the Gen Z audience that like pump him up and make him.
so it's
just
like a
look
combined
better every
media
time.
event that
Yeah.
like adds on
Mhm.
not just the event itself,
Yep.
but all the people who meet.
Yeah,
there.
it's not specifically
I
just
don't
like
know.
the UFC, but it's
Yeah.
like everything surrounding the UFC.
Oh. All right, go ahead.
To add to his
Last one.
point,
Sorry.
we always have to remember that most of the people, regardless of how politically involved everybody here is, most people in America are not politically involved. So if they just see something generally that is appealing to them, they will attach to that either familiarity or feeling by watching the event. So it's like, oh, Trump, UFC, cool, I might vote for him again. Like or
Everyone loved
he
him.
can't, but I might
you
vote
know?
for a MAGA guy.
Everyone was so happy to see
Exactly, yeah.
all these celebrities that were also happy to see Trump, yada 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 yada.
So I just looked it up. So the fighters were paid in cash. There were bonuses that were handed out, but they weren't in Trump coin. They were in USD coin, which is a stable coin that's pegged to the US dollar, and it was used to promote crypto. There were bonuses paid in that for
Which
sure,
is-
but none of that was government money.
Well, also
Right,
that's
that's
a
Trump
lot of
money.
his
But it-
policies.
No, it's
USD1
Trump
is
money.
is
It's
Trump
worse.
backed. It's World Liberty Financial.
No.
it's
Yeah,
backed
World
by
Liberty
US
Financial. World Liberty Financial handed over the, or I guess, handed over the USD coin, but it's not like a Trump coin. It's a stable
It is-
coin.
It is a stable
It's a
coin.
stable
It's-
point.
it's a stable
backed
point.
by-
Like I can go
backed-
buy
it's backed
USD
by-
off of any.
It's backed by
of
US
any,
dollars.
on Robinhood
saying-
right
oh,
now.
I see what you're
he's
saying. I see what you're
saying
saying. Oh
that.
no, I got it. I got what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying that like it was the USD one is a stable coin out like in general, right?
Anybody can
Everybody
buy it.
won. And then they handed it through World Liberty. Okay,
No,
well,
but I
that's-
think it's owned by World.
And it's also part of his policy.
Wait,
It
He
is.
wants
It
us
is.
to use
World
more
Liberty
crypto
Financial
too,
owns the
though. In
coin.
general.
It's not just a
Was
random
it-
coin.
He wants to
look
use
Yeah,
at
it's
it.
still a
his
sta- it's still hold on.
His
It's still a
Yeah,
stable
it's his
coin.
stable
Hold on,
coin.
it's
It's
two,
Trump's stable
but
coin.
it's twofold. Okay, well, one, it's a stable coin, but the other thing is part of the policy has been that they want to start diversifying the U.S. interest into crypto. Right? If you are saying that as a policy push and you're giving a stable coin as a bonus in order to promote this to the public, I don't see that as a conflict of interest because you're sitting here promoting a
For a company
policy
he's
that
bought
you
in on,
ran
or
on.
that's
Hold on,
his?
you want crypto in general? He's invested in
yeah.
a whole bunch of different companies, and I think it's some
Yeah, but
trust.
it's his crypto.
Yeah, but it's not
Yeah,
just
it
his
is
crypto.
crypto.
That's the
But
point.
USD
His
one is a
crypto.
No,
US
it's like-
dollar peg stable coin from World Liberty
Specifically-
Financial.
So it's a
I
U.S.
was
dollar
correct.
backed. It's still a U.S. dollar backed stablecoin.
Yeah,
So
it's
you're
just
wanting a
pegged, so
U.S.
it's pegged to the US dollar. It's not
pegged to
backed
the
by
U.S. dollar. So it's pegged to the U.S. dollar. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
part of the
Right,
portfolio
it's
of coins that we've been put forth when we invest in all that shit. Remember all this when you did the big crypto push? And so it's part of that
But
portfolio
these
of
are
coins.
his coins.
No, that's World
So you're
Liberty.
mad about
That's
it.
not
So
the
you're
US
just upset
that's
about
not
his
the US
policy, really.
Treasury.
Mm.
No,
I'm
the
upset
US
that he's
Treasury
using-
does not own,
There's
that
no
stable
policy
coin.
here, by the
World
way.
Liberty
What?
Yeah.
does, right?
He's already been
And
pushing
so
a
I
US
was correct, Lactoid, when I
There's
said
no
that
laws
they
for
gave
this
out
yet.
Trump coin.
No,
because
he's
they
got a
did.
US.
No, stop.
owned-
Trump coin is
It's not a
Trump coin.
meme Trump coin, but it's
Stop.
a stable
Trump coin. Trump coin is a different thing. Anybody can go on any exchange right now and get a stable coin, like USD coin.
That was
There were bonuses paid out, but I still fail to see what the corruption here
World
is.
Liberty Financial.
He gets a percentage.
Yes,
of those.
World Liberty Financial,
Well, you're
who,
using
my
his
understanding,
crypto.
sponsored the event or was involved in the event, and paid out some of the bonuses here for
and
the
World
fighters.
Liberty coin.
Okay, you keep saying this, but like, do you think Dana? Here, let me just ask you what you think corruption is. No government money whatsoever. Dana White, who's a massive supporter of
The
Donald Trump,
President
supports
is
Donald Trump.
invested in this
The president
coin.
invested
How's it
into,
not government
Yeah,
money?
but no, and also y'all are wrong. We have this coin is part of the Genius
Yeah,
Act. It's part of the
corruption.
Genius
Amazing
Act.
language.
No, it's part of the
Well,
Genius Act and the Clarity Act.
Stop. Do you think it's who do you think ultimately paid for this? Who do you think paid ultimately for the USD coin to be transferred over to the fighters? Who paid?
It says
I
private
don't know.
investors.
Who made money off of the
Profit.
transfer?
It's not
TKO.
who pays who's
The,
proud.
the,
made-
the,
it
the,
doesn't
the owners
matter.
of the UFC. Yeah. Do
It
you
doesn't
think
Who
matter.
made money off the transfer?
is it corruption if the UFC were to donate $30 million to Trump?
If hold on.
For the
If-
event, yes.
um,
in exchange for-
One,
absolutely.
he gets
That's corruption?
he gets a
Donations are
cut-
corruption now?
He gets a
In
cut
exchange for
of-
benefits.
He gets a
Like,
cut
what-
of
oh,
the
give me $30
donation.
million.
What's the
He gets a
benefit?
cut of the transfer.
You
He gets a
mean
cut of the
what's-
incredible
transfer.
amount of
No, White House
advertising?
law.
I can hand money over to a president. That is legal.
If you give me,
And he gets does he get a percentage of that money?
If he gets what? What was the quid pro
For
quo?
what?
if you get, can I advertise on the White House lawn?
You can donate to money to presidents to advertise.
Donate
On the White House lawn?
You don't hold this
What?
standard. You would never
Sorry,
hold
you
this
can
standard.
donate to
Brian.
I
Advertising.
do
I
not
don't
I
want
do
this
not
to let-
call it criticism
You
when
won't let-
people donate millions of dollars
You talking about
to
Hunter Biden.
Democrats, despite the fact
Hunter
that
Biden just
Kamala
got
Harris
donations then. Never
Kamala
mind.
Harris
Sorry.
outspent Trump on every single swing state in the last election, and besides Pennsylvania, massive margins.
Campaign
Is that
money.
We're talking about
corruption?
campaigns
Hold
right
on,
now?
hold on. Could you
Why are we
explain
talking
to me,
about
like,
campaigns?
you're saying you can donate to a
Why are we talking about
president to
campaigns?
advertise? Like, what
Sure.
do you mean by that?
Sure. So you can super fund, right? A super PAC. If I wanted to, I could put $30 million into a fund to advertise the president's message, to advertise something the president likes. This is perfectly
Not to the
legal.
president directly.
That's
You can
not
pay-
what
you
I
You
can
can't
I'm
fund.
give
talking
him
about.
a percentage of
like
that
the
money.
business itself is advertising. This is not like them like doing a political message for the president, which is corruption in itself, right? That is corruption. It's just legalized corruption within our awful system.
Okay.
But anyway, still, right? This is like them advertising their company that Trump is invested in on the White House lawn. That's the thing that we're talking about.
Well, no, so it's not Trump specifically. It's a Trump family linked company. I'm pretty sure like it has connections to some of his family members. It's not him at all.
Linked
UFC.
company.
I
No,
No, you're talking about
World
World
Liberty
Liberty
Financial.
So I looked at it.
Yeah, World
Their
Liberty-
family
yeah,
trust
World
has
Liberty
investments
You
in
don't
it.
think
But
World
that-
Liberty has
that's how
connection with
corruption
Trump?
works in general, right? Like,
No,
hey,
it's just his
hey, my
family.
son, right?
Definitely
Like,
has.
they-
Hold on, his connection with the family, which definitely has connections to him for sure.
Yeah. So exactly, that's
What
how.
do you think? Do you think
corruption
anybody in
works.
his family's money isn't connected to Trump directly?
Directly,
Like, do you
I
think
don't
that,
know.
all
do you think
his
that
money.
anybody's
Their
family
money
making
is his money.
Yeah, it's not-
His money is
Bro,
his
that's
dad's
not a-
money.
that's
Like
not a
Trump
serious
doesn't have
thing,
money
bro.
without his dad.
Trump's kids don't have money without him. Like,
Yeah.
it's a family. Like all the money circles.
wait. Hold on. That's not.
And
You
again,
could
I'm not
say
dealing
no.
with this
Stop.
because
Stop.
You talked about Hunter Biden, so
That
What
means
have I said about Hunter Biden?
That means
Stop, what have I
nobody's
said about
got.
Hunter
Nobody
Biden?
has money.
What have I?
except
Stop.
their-
Stop.
Let's say-
What have I said about Hunter Biden? Since you know me so well, what have I said?
You said, yeah. I'm about to say you said that what they actually charged him with was BS because it was related to the cocaine and the gun charge. But you thought that they should have went over him related to the Burisma stuff. You think there was something there?
No, what I've said multiple times is I'm not super educated in the Burisma stuff. I think that the allegation, which I have not parroted or gone into because I just don't know enough about it to like be able to take a firm position on it. I'm not going to take a firm position on something unless like I read into it enough to know what it is. The allegation that people who know a lot more than me have said is that they're very specifically used leverage, like public government funded leverage in Ukraine to establish jobs for members of the president's family, specifically Hunter Biden. If that is true, I think that is a problem for sure. I think that using government like money and government influence and government forces in order to compel another country to give like economic benefit to your child, I think that's a problem. But I don't know if that's actually the case when it comes to Burisma.
What about
Almost everything I've said about Hunter, and you can go back through all my public comments, the vast majority, if not everything I've said about Hunter Biden, is that I think that the gun cart charge and the cocaine charge was bunk.
Yeah, that's what I started with. I know you said that, but I thought you said that if you were going to pursue him, they should pursue him related to Burisma. I feel like I was in this conversation.
Yeah. If they were going to pursue him, like that should have been the thing that they were investigating, as opposed to a fucking gun charge and a coke charge that was complete bullshit.
Oh my God!
I don't know enough
please,
about
we
that
can hear you
situation to
doing
know
whatever
whether or
you're
not that
doing.
actually happened. If on the other hand it was the
He's
case,
just
by the
demolishing
way,
you.
if it was on the other hand, if it was the case that like I don't know, some kind of comparable situation happened where like some organization that's close to Biden, I don't know, like fucking
In 3 minutes, we
DC
should
Pride,
probably
I don't know, some kind of organization.
Pride.
Like they had like a big event right at the White House,
Talking about for
and it was like
Hunter
a big thing, titties flopping everywhere and all that shit. And like they were getting paid with a kind of cryptocurrency that was owned by Hunter Biden. I don't think it'd be that big of a deal. I can't see why it'd be that big of a deal unless like there's some like something I'm missing. Like what would be?
What
What
if Hunter Biden? What if Biden gave like a $600 million like contract to Hunter Biden for a business that he has like zero prior
Is it a
experience
government
in.
contract?
Yeah, a government contract.
Yeah. If we're talking about government contracts in exchange for money, that's a much bigger problem. Did the UFC
Right.
get a government contract?
What about Don
Uh,
Jr. receiving that
Yeah,
government
Don
contract
Jr.
related to drones
Trump
for
had
about
both have gotten
$650
government
million?
contracts for the
For,
money.
they,
For the
they've
companies they've invested in.
given for sure they've given government contracts to the UFC in exchange for this.
No, this isn't
not
about
to
UFC.
UFC.
This is about drones.
Yes, like they have like
Military
drone
drones.
companies.
Okay, well, if we're
that-
talking about something else,
that
maybe
they've
this could be a
awarded-
problem.
Yeah,
So what happened here?
He I'm about to say specifically from the White House, because I think the Department of Defense specified that the White House reached out and asked them to grant a contract of $650 million to a drone company that had been like founded less than a month prior by
Eric Trump?
less than a month he's the investor. He didn't found it, but he invested in it. And it was
Well, how much did he? Okay, hold on. How much did he
Here,
invest in it? I'll read on this.
I'll put a link in this in our group chat. I don't want to spend too much time here because I made a promise to our friend Hunter. Right?
You did.
Right.
Our wonderful
You don't have
friend
to.
Hunter.
I'm enjoying
No,
this
Daily
conversation.
Beast.
No, Hunter. We got to do it.
I guess
Wait,
we
no,
have
you
to
can just
do
use
it.
whatever, right? You can just start this. So there were others reporting on this, but like that's just the one I have. But you can-
No, look,
you can-
I will read this, and if we're talking about a government deal where we're spending government money, and like we look at it and it's like, wow, like
on a Trump
there
venture.
definitely there
On a
appears to be
Trump
like
family venture.
yes, there appears to be some like quid pro quo here. Like I think that this would be like more of a concern. This does not appear to be the case whatsoever at this UFC event.
Okay, so
No,
you can look at that. So
yeah, I
let's
said
just
that
move,
about the agree.
okay, let's just move past. I want to get started on this, and you can.
Which was
you know,
awesome,
give
by
your
the way.
opinion. You can
and not
give us your
racist.
opinion. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Of course not. But you can give us your opinion on that later. I wanted to make sure we give plenty of time to the actual topic at hand. So far, thank you for the kind super chats from my listening library. Much appreciated. And of course, the research from AdmiralGibbs. Consider supporting the channel if you haven't done so yet. If you liked our little opening here, hit the follow button in case you haven't done so before. Right, hit the follow button, or consider supporting the channel through like becoming a member on YouTube or a subscriber on Twitch, or like super chatting. Singing super chats, those are fantastic, and we will discuss them. And that seems that one super chat that sent us into a spiral here on the. We've been talking about that for a half hour, so you want us to talk about your thing, right? Sing the super chat, and we'll see what happens. All right, so we're gonna get started now. Thanks all for being here, much appreciated. The topic for today. The Boy Scouts of America was destroyed by, among other things, a series of Catholic Church-style child sex scandals. In the wake of these revelations, a $1 billion legal restitution fund was set up. However, as detailed in the attached video that they saw, the process of disbursement to alleged victims was a complete mess. The process seemed to be filled with bold-faced fraud and misconduct. Part of the reason for this chaos was the fact that U.S. states allowed victims to seek restitution for far outside of the statute of limitations. Almost no evidence was needed to claim part of the settlement. This raises the question of how we should handle sex crimes. Oftentimes, victims require a long period of time before they are ready to step forward. This is especially true of children. But this often puts their efforts outside of the statute of limitations. And this time lag makes it nearly impossible to produce credible evidence for or against the allegations. So was it a mistake allowing old victims to get restitution? Should we have statute of limitations attached to sex crimes? Does it matter if those limitations allow predators to escape justice? And what kind of evidence should be enough to secure a conviction? So I saw this video. I saw this video last week, and it's a fantastic video by I think was it Elephants in the Room, I think is the name of the individual. Yeah, Elephants in Rooms. Yeah. Like I'm subscribed to this guy. He does like a lot of like hot button issues, right? Tries like do debunks or proving something or whatever, right? I think you like Lactoid. I think this is the channel right up your alley. But in any case, yeah, so he like brings up this thing about Boy Scouts, and I clicked on it, but I wasn't really expecting where it was going like at all, right? And I think the content creator is correct, is that I'm not sure how widely reported this is. I mean, I'm sure there was some reporting out there at the time, but like I've never heard anyone discuss this. So yeah, they had a restitution fund for the victims of, they had sex crimes against children, right? As a thing that happened, it's really unfortunate. And there was some reshuffling of these people, or keeping things hush hush, as we've seen before. So they did that, right? But like, then the problem was like, okay, we got to get this money out there, right? How do we do that? Well, you've seen it before, right? Even if you haven't seen this one, you've seen it before, where like there's a big settlement, and then there's like ads on TV, right? Advertising this settlement. If you were hurt, right, by this ice cold therapy, that's one of the ones that happened, right? This ice like that lessening therapy. Then call our lawyers, call our law firms to see if you're eligible to be a part of a settlement that just took place, right? That's what happened for the Boy Scouts. So they put out this big effort to like find victims, but like the evidence to prove that you were a victim, that you were eligible, was like quite weak, quite weak. Like I believe, if I'm hopefully I'm saying this correctly, but like you just had to have someone say that corroborate that you are within a Boy Scouts troop that had one of these like pedophile guys, people suspected of pedophilia, right? And then name that guy. But like multiple things happened here. There was a database that was created, right? Like a publicly available database that like had the details of all the Boy Scout troop officials who might have been suspected. So even if you didn't know, if let's say you weren't a victim and you didn't know anything about this, right, but you were part of the Boy Scouts, and you can get someone to say that you're part of this troop, you can just say like, oh yeah, I was part of that troop where that guy molested those people, and then you were in. And then from there, according to the video, there was like a certain amount of like a legal documents that need to be filled that was being auto-filled by these lawyers. They were just like pumping them out, right? Especially as the deadline came up, they were just like chugging out all these legal documents to make sure they could take part in the settlement, and then of course get like lawyer fees on top of legal fees. So like the law firms themselves are making money on each of these. And so yeah, it seems like a lot of fraud took place. But right, I want to balance everything that I just said with the thought that yes, there were victims. They existed. That's the thing that happened, right? But also, right, we have this idea of the statute of limitations, and like all these victims are way outside of that, way outside of that. But when you prosecute these crimes, right? This happened before. This is not just in the Boy Scouts, where they've like had these like laws that have retroactively extended the statute of limitations for some category of sex crime. When you do that, it makes it extremely difficult to like defend yourself, right? If someone starts accusing you of something that was like 20, 30 years ago, how do you gather the evidence? Right? Like, do you have evidence to say is that you weren't in that room with that person? You were in a different state. Do you have that? Like it makes it difficult to have a defense or to even like, put forth credible evidence. So that's why I wanted to examine, right? What should be credible evidence in a case such as this? And how should we treat these things going forward? So that was a long preamble, but I was trying to get the audience caught up on all this. We'll start with our good friend Lactoid and work our way around.
So a couple things. The first thing I want to say is SpaceX is doing fucking crazy right now. Highly advise you guys take a look at it. Elon's the GOAT. The other thing I wanted to say is I looked into that. Trump's kids buying into a defense contractor. Pretty shady. Pretty shitty. Not a fan. That should be illegal. As for the topic, I'm going to take this to, I know that Scouts is kind of like the specific topic, but really I think this is just the broader conversation as to statute of limitations and what, are they fair? Because they've come up in a whole bunch of situations. They've come up political situations, right? Eugene Carroll for Donald Trump. I mean, her stuff was well beyond statute of limitations, and they very specifically kind of made a change to allow Eugene Carroll in order to bring that claim, because otherwise it would be barred, be time barred. Um, and I have a little bit of experience with analyzing statute of limitations given my profession here. And so I'm just kind of I'm going to give you my genuine take as to my thoughts. And my thoughts are generally, I think statute of limitations are great. I think they're very good things. I think that they are needed. And I think that they should be, in most cases, not all cases, but in most cases, even stricter than they are now. And for those of you who, just to fully emphasize, or I guess elucidate what a statute of limitation is, statute of limitations basically means, you can sue somebody who fucks with you, who does something wrong to you. Whether that's hitting you in a car, whether that's discriminating against you at work, whether that's sexual assault. But you have to bring the lawsuit within a certain period of time. And for each offense, there's a different amount of time that you have to bring that lawsuit. My argument, I think there's three main reasons why I think statute of limitations are really important. And the first one is talked about in the article, which is, fraud, I think, is a problem. And not just the kind of hard fraud that we're talking about, where like this guy just fucking made this thing up entirely. There's also soft fraud, where people exaggerate things, right? Like, and you see this a lot with car accidents, where like, yeah, the car accident happened, but like, oh man, my back is really, really hurting, and I have, all these injuries, and yeah, like, you look at their medical history, and there's a bunch of injuries they had beforehand, or, you get pictures of them lifting weights, whatever. That's fuck that. But no, they're really, 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 really hurt. That's generally what's referred to as soft fraud, where, they're not making up the fact they were in an accident, but like, come on, right? It's getting ridiculous. They're inflating it for the value of the case. That is a really, really, really big problem when it comes to lawsuits. And it's one of the reasons why doing business in America is expensive. Doing business anywhere is expensive, but in America, we're a very litigious nation. And it is one of the driving forces for business costs and insurance costs, which is a problem when it comes to when we want to have a dynamic kind of industry and a dynamic workplace, and also dynamic workers, right? We want people to be able to, live and operate in society without fearing fraud at any given moment. The second reason, I think, and Prime touched on this, which is that as time goes on, evidence begins to deteriorate. Physical evidence, emails get deleted, emails get auto-deleted, memories tend to fade. Witnesses tend to die or disappear or move, or all these things that can happen. There's all this deterioration of evidence that can be critical for somebody to defend themselves, right? If I had an email that had a perfect alibi, but it got deleted after 10 years because, of course, yeah, that's going to make it really hard to defend myself, because obviously my shit's going to delete itself after 10 years. I didn't know this was going to become part of a lawsuit. I can't live my entire life keeping every single thing I ever have like a hoarder. Yeah, I'm going to be cleaning out some stuff. I'm going to be cleaning out my car. DNA evidence can fade as well. Like, there's all sorts of things. We just can't have it be the case that, at any point 50 years ago, where were you on, January 2nd, 50 years ago? I don't fucking know, and nobody fucking knows. And then the last thing I'll say is, and this is a general criticism I've been sort of hinting at it. There's too much litigation in America to begin with. It's a massive burden. There's too many lawyers. Lawyers tend to be the worst people on the planet to begin with, and there's just way too many of them. And we pay a lot of money, not just in terms of insurance costs and business costs, but also the court system itself is really expensive. Judges take up a lot of money. Attorneys take up a lot of money. We just need to cut down on that generally. I think we should cut down a lot of it on the criminal side too. We should be, doing things to legalize, drugs, nonviolent offenses, reduce penalties, stuff like that. That saves a bunch of money, but also on the civil side as well. So generally speaking, I think this fund was badly administered. Oftentimes, a lot of this is just political. Well, don't you care about the victims? Yeah, sure, but there's real reasons why we have to have these limitations in place. And it's hard, it's hard to be the bad guy and say, well, sorry, this legitimate victim doesn't get money for the crime that happened to them. But that's just the trade-off when it comes to dealing with issues in a society.
Thanks so much for that, Lacto. I'm really appreciated. Let's go to our friend Hunter. And Hunter, I just wanted to apologize again.
What?
You
You're
seem
fine.
really excited to do it.
No,
and-
I would hold on. I don't even think I was that excited. I just didn't want to talk about strippers all day. That was where I was at.
That's how
What a
you
loser.
and Gibbs
That
are
was a
built
great
differently,
conversation.
We
okay?
eventually spoke about lactose poor approach
And
to
of course, the
dating.
time
We
I'm not
eventually
here,
migrated
the
there.
strippers conversation happens, right?
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, that was just definitely.
Oh,
not
we needed
the
Gibbs
topic
there,
that
man.
I'm
That would have been.
on.
That would have been
We
so.
don't- Listen, I hate strip clubs. Love strippers though. You know, it's crazy how that works. I don't know.
Prime hates strippers, but you know,
Mm.
Gibbs, are you regularly falling for strippers?
No, of course. There's a rule. This is the one rule after I got divorced, and this is an important rule, man. I think if you never listen to any advice I give you, you should listen to this advice: is you don't date the stripper. Like, all right, they're fun.
no,
But,
you
like,
can date
oh,
for the
no,
summer. It's a good
no,
time.
they're fun.
Date a summer. of
Okay,
your
I wouldn't
life.
have
a
thought
summer,
that. I wouldn't
a
have thought
summer's
that, I'm not
fine.
gonna lie.
Yeah, you don't date the
That
stripper.
surprised me.
Situationship, that's fine. Whatever. You don't date them like
Poor
that.
Hunter, it's happening again.
I know.
And if you want a sales tip, if you want a sales tip, a sales stripper
It's
tip,
like, what the
here's
fuck
a
did I
tip.
just
Here's
start?
another tip. If you have like a guy and he's kind of nerdy and you're trying to make a sale to him and you're taking him out at night as a client need or something, take him to the strip club before you go out to the bar because the girl, this guy will be into him and he'll be feeling all hype and excited. And then you take him to the regular bar and he's gonna feel more confident. And he's probably gonna sign that deal because he's gonna remember how great of a night he had with you that night. So that's your piece of advice right there on how to use strippers for sales. All right.
Let me ask
Thank
you,
you
just
for that.
just one thing to Gibbs, all right?
Sure.
Gibbs, do you think the stripping industry, right, incentivize manipulation, right? Incentivize manipulating the customers,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously.
obviously.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Just
it's
one-
like every industry is like manipulates customers.
True,
Like,
true.
I mean,
I don't know about
Yes.
that. I
I
don't know
mean,
if this is
Wait,
I-
finally
Every
had
every
a
sex-based
industry.
one definitely manipulates their.
I would say like, okay, if not every industry, it's a great majority has some form of manipulation like built into like to the customer base.
Like
to
the
make them-
ranching industry, right, Gibbs?
Sure, yeah. I'll tell you how we manipulate you. We want you to eat more of our beef. Like we think it's a good product, so we're gonna like make sales. Like I mean, based off that. I mean, that's manipulation in some sense, but like I don't know. That's the only.
Get you some of that screw worm, boy.
It's bad.
Well,
That screw worm's bad.
I'm good, bro.
Well, that's a whole panel itself. That's right.
and we should
It
have
was
that
last
panel
week.
about how
The
Trump
screw
and
worm?
Elon
Wait,
Musk
tell us
screwed
about
it
being an
all
Eagle Scout.
up. Let's go, friend. Hunter, please.
Okay. That was a great example as to what I didn't want to talk about. I'm fine if you guys do. I just don't have a lot to contribute. I will say that this conversation, I can contribute a lot more. I know a lot more. I was a Boy Scout. I was an Eagle Scout. I actually knew quite a bit of people. I wouldn't say quite a bit. I knew one or two people who were involved in this sex abuse stuff, and it was very serious and it was really impactful. I tend to, however, still understand the reasons for statute of limitations and understand that also the amount of fraud really did affect quite a bit of the actual victims. And usually where I sort of end up here is that statute of limitations should probably be kept where they're at. However, there should be an extra emphasis on the ability to speak out about this kind of stuff, because there was a lot of social and cultural pressure to sort of keep things quiet. I grew up Mormon, so it was like also integrated into the church, which also has a bunch of sex abuse scandals. There's going to be a lot of fun conversations about that, I'm sure. But yeah, it was a terrifying situation, terrible situation, where a lot of kids just didn't feel like they had the language or ability to speak up. And I'm usually in favor of those types of conversations. Unfortunately, this has been kind of an ideological position at this point, because usually when elementary school teachers are like, this is your no-no zone, then the parents are like, why are you teaching them about genitalia? It's like, well, because we can't trust you. You tend to abuse your kids. So sometimes we have to have teachers come in and say, here's what a no-no zone is. And if someone's touching that without you liking it, you should probably be telling someone, maybe a teacher, if that's the only person you trust. But sometimes, anyway, that's a whole other situation. That's usually what I advocate for, is language for children to speak about the abuse that is affecting them. I will usually be pro statute of limitations. And I think that's my positions. That's about it.
Thanks so much.
Mhm.
Let's go to our friend Corey.
So I have not rewatched the video since last week, so I may get some details wrong, but feel free to correct me. But uh, I did find it strange, if I remember correctly, like the person in the video seemed to take issue with this being compared to like the Catholic Church scandal, where I think, if I remember correctly, like framing it as like, well, in this instance, as opposed to the Catholic Church, it was like a few bad apples type of situation, where I think that's a little bit strange. Even then, from what I understand, although I have never been a Boy Scout in any way whatsoever, or even close to it, but like from what I understand, like the Boy Scouts seems to take some responsibility in the, I don't know, the moral cultivation of young men, boys, but someone can correct me on that. And I do find it strange that if there's an institution devoted to that, and they, I would say, they demonstrate some moral blindness, I think that's, you know, a major fatal flaw in the institution in and of itself. But regardless, even though Lactoid, and I think even Hunter just now was making the case for statute of limitations, as of now, I'm on the fence, or maybe as of now, leaning slightly towards 51%, maybe against or slightly against, or very highly skeptical of them. But like, yeah, they can go either way. But I'm going to maybe probe Lactoid and even Hunter more on like what their full justifications are, because at least I was not convinced by the arguments that Lactoid made. And so in this case here, do I think that there should be a statute of limitations? No. And is fraud a valid concern? Yes. But again, if I remember correctly from the video, there were no like explicit cases of fraud that were highlighted, just like there's the potential for it, which is a valid concern. But until it's actually demonstrated with any sort of like data or some rate of fraud taking place during this instance, I don't see it as a major concern as of now. Same people like, you know, does fraud happen with welfare? Sure, absolutely. But like, is it to a level that we need to abolish welfare? I would say no, although I'm sure there are some people that would say yes. And so all that to say is like, doesn't seem like a statute of limitations is justified in this case. And fraud doesn't seem to be a valid concern as of now. And I'll leave it there for now.
Thanks so much. I don't know who is clicking. Oh my God, please, guys.
It couldn't be because my hands were like up.
I know it wasn't. I know it wasn't like, but
I always get blamed no matter. You said it earlier. I'm like, I was muted.
My mic's off.
First of all, before it was you, Gibbs, not the clicking, it was something else you were doing. And I was watching your mic levels, so it was you that time.
Listen, I don't trust your watching of the thing.
Well, listen, Gibbs, if you can't operate your camera correctly, there's no way you can operate the mute button correctly.
Listen, hold on. I am very skilled at the mute button.
Oh yeah, can you zoom in and zoom out right now?
Let's see if it'll work for us. Ha ha.
Zoom out.
It's learning. It's learning. Yeah, Yesterday was a wild shit though. So that we got one day. We got one day working. Anyway, that doesn't mean much. I was gonna say though, that what was it the other day? You're like, oh, this is happening, and then for everybody else it was reversed. So I'm thinking maybe your microphone lighting up thing might be reversed too, Prime.
My microphone lighting up thing. Okay.
Yeah, that's the technical term.
You're fantastic, Gibbs. Thanks so much. Let's go to our friend Ali.
Yeah. So I probably agree with Lactoid and Hunter in terms of like statute of limitations for most things, but probably not in terms of like child sexual abuse for the like main reason that, you know, a kid may not admit it or say something about it or have the language for it, as Hunter was saying, until like years later, or even be able to come forward with it. Like, you're kind of putting a lot of pressure on a kid to do this hugely major thing and then take them on in court, whatever it may be. I mean, especially when it comes to like an organization like the Boy Scouts, right? Like, if enough kids come out, or if enough adults in the future come out and say this happened, or if the organization does some investigating and they find out that something happened and they want to make a payout, I mean, I think that's completely fine. I think the kids, the adults are deserve that money. You know, I don't think there should be a statute of limitation on this. And then the fact that there was some fraud, I mean, obviously there's going to be fraud. I don't really think that matters. And if the Boy Scouts, you know, end up failing as a company, or like they're destroyed by like this $1 billion pit, well, I mean, then so be it. Your company was going on and perpetrating so much like child miscare, then it doesn't matter that you guys shut down. Maybe you shouldn't exist as the company. I don't really see the issue with that. So the fraud isn't enough for me. And yeah.
Thanks so much. Let's go to our friend Gibbs.
Yeah, see, I don't know about y'all, but when I was growing up, the Boy Scouts were sus. I mean, maybe they were like something that was normal back in like the 50s and 30s and shit, but we all knew that was happening with the Boy Scouts. It was sus from day one. I don't know who was letting their kids go to the Boy Scouts, but they're sus as well. Maybe we should look into them. All these fuckers are sus. Listen, I know
Looking at
Neil
my
Armstrong.
mom.
I know Neil Armstrong or whatever had a fucking Eagle Scout thing, but he probably had it from when it was normal. Well, listen, all I'm saying, growing up in the 90s, we all knew, what was up with the Boy Scouts. We also all knew what was up with the Catholic churches, and none of us was Catholic. So hey, I'm just saying, maybe some of y'all start paying attention to what's happening around y'all, because I feel like that's a lot of self-inflicted. Secondly, yeah, I guess how do you get around the statute of limitations? I mean, there are some like crimes that have no statute of limitation, but I feel like I don't know, just for the sake of like shit moving on, you have to have them. Like, it's because if someone comes like 40 years later and like this guy's like on his deathbed and it's like, oh, I'm about to give my inheritance to my kids, and then someone's like, oh, I got SA'd 50 years ago and didn't say anything, sus, right? Like, why didn't, I'm not saying fraud. I don't know, maybe that's the end all be all, but like, it's maybe, I don't know, there's got to be some sort of statute of limitations, as if they're all like on most things, right? Just from like, I don't know. It seems like it's like, I'm going to default to the lawyer on this. Also, aren't there civil remedies that you could take outside the criminal system? Like, as well? Like, I think the Jean Carroll thing, even though it was outside the statute, she was doing it civilly because the criminal, statute had gone out, right? I think.
Well, this is a civil case that we're talking about.
Right. Yeah, I know. But it's like, I think
the civil statute of limitations also ran out.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
The government very
levels.
specifically extended it.
So that's what I'm saying right here. Is like I feel like there's already different levels of the statute of limitations where we consider different things. Like, oh, you have this remedy, and then you have this much longer if you want to do it under the civil style, where the burden of proof is lower, right? Like, so you have I feel like we're already giving like extra things for people for all these kind of different options in the legal system. So yeah, I don't really want to change statute of limitations that much. I don't know. It seems very weaponized, and I know people are going to want to try to paint the conservative, the Boy Scouts is some conservative organization, but nah, fam, they sus. I wouldn't. No one's standing on them. If y'all are going to stand on them being a conservative organization, then y'all have to stand on NAMBLA being part of the LGBTQ from day one. So I mean, that's the only way I'll accept both, because they're tied to both. So just saying. Otherwise, they're sus. That's all I got.
My mom took me to Cub Scouts. I begged to be part of Boy Scouts, and I got into
my parents
Cub
never
Scouts.
sent me to no Scouts.
Yeah. And
I
I won an award.
have a question with whoever sent you the Scouts. Hey, we gotta have a talk.
I won an award for community service there, and that was nice. But then my parent didn't want to continue on with the thing, because she would have to take me, and that was too much. And then that was the end of that. So I had a few months in there, and that was it. Let's go.
Or she might have met the families that were had their kids going and go, something was weird about this.
Hey, that's fine. Let's go to our newest addition, Riddell. Thank you for being here. Happy to have you. Tell everyone about yourself a little bit, and then give us an introduction.
Yeah, so my name's Riddell, real name. I don't really do the social media names, to be honest. I run a podcast called Purple Political Breakdown, where I go over politics. I speak with a lot of different types of guests, and I talk about policy and ways to improve America in general, and by extension, the world, because I do think America is the greatest country. I speak a lot about speak with different types of people, whether it's business owners or politicians, trying to kind of push things in a proper direction. So that's what I mostly focus on. So this definitely wasn't on my radar in terms of a big issue, considering how crazy Trump has been for the last 2 years. So when I looked into the video, it was a lot of very things stood out to me. So first things first, statute of limitations. I think for the most part, all of us agree that it is a good thing for a lot of the reasons that Latoid said. However, this is a unique case, which is where I agree with Ali. This is a child sex abuse case. So it's a little bit different because a child won't have the capacity to really defend themselves. That's kind of the big core element of this conversation. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure a lot of us have seen things, or at the very least know people, where it's a child can be pressured to keep silent. A child can be pressured to do whatever. They can be manipulated. They're children. And then the biggest problem is once that happens over time, they're going to be less likely to say anything, and they're going to forget. We're going to have these issues. But are we just going to give up on the child at that point that got taken advantage of when they were the most vulnerable, I think that's kind of ridiculous. So when it comes down to this conversation in particular, the biggest issue I saw wasn't the victims trying to get justice. It was the firms taking advantage of the victims. That is the biggest thing that I was like, wait, why are these firms going out, throwing out tons of advertisements, pushing it out as much as possible to get as much people as possible to sign up for this claim to get money from the bankruptcy? It seems like the victims were being taken advantage of in this situation. So I do think the conversation mostly lies on like, how do we prevent sexual child abuse victims from being taken advantage of? Because one thing that is fair to say is that the bar to prove guilt for a civil case is not that high. So there probably needs adjustment for this if we're going to change the statute of limitations for children in particular. So I think that's kind of like my biggest issues, these firms and these hedge funds taking advantage of victims.
Thanks so much. Now we'll go to my friend Black American Made, who I didn't know was going to be here. All right. Pleasant surprise to have you here, friend. But yeah, thanks for being here.
But you still ended up putting 2 black people at the end. That's crazy. You gotta work but let's see here. I don't want to rehash what everyone else what's been said, but I think I'll add more context behind my reasoning. I do believe in statute of limitations. I do think the issue, particularly with children, is at least what society has determined the responsibility we grant to children, which is almost none, which I don't think is a bad thing. I believe that like if we can't hold children, if children can't sign contracts, if children like are treated as minors, essentially with almost no societal expectations of responsibility, it would be strange to like. I don't think that clock can start while you're a minor, even if you want to have a conversation about statute of limitations, just because of that being number one. Number two, the potential dynamic of the reality of like, oh, okay, children aren't even like a battered woman can be in a dangerous situation, but she's legally allowed to go live somewhere else. She is allowed to, seek refuge somewhere. The child's not. So if that abuse is involving a parent, maybe that child wants to speak on something, but they don't want to speak on it until they're in a position where they can legally get out of the house. Like, even if they did run off, if a parent found them and, requested them to come back, by law, they would have to, while they're still mine. I know you can say like, oh, if they say what's going on or whatnot, but generally like, there's an expectation of that, that child does what the parent says. So I can also understand why having a limitation set around minors can be pretty problematic. But like I said, that doesn't mean it should be a never. I just think if you want to have that conversation, like, oh, okay, there's a 7-8 year window. I don't know. I'm just throwing out numbers here, but like that clock wouldn't start until after 18 at a minimum. And then in regards to the Boy Scouts in particular, I had a couple people I went to high school with that were Eagle Scouts. Like Scouts existed, but I think just growing up in the South, like if you wanted experience with outdoorsiness and camping and stuff, you probably just knew somebody who did that versus like sending your boys off to be like in a group with, Scoutmaster Dan, who nobody really trusts, and the shorts away a little bit too short, like for comfort. You just like go with somebody's white uncle on a camping trip, and he brings
uncles have great reputations.
Listen, I'm gonna trust redneck Uncle Bob way over old Scoutmaster Dan. Let me tell you, you know which one of them sus. One guy might get drunk around the kids, the other guy's gonna be, don't worry. I'm just saying.
Oh man,
but
yeah, that's it. So, last but I just need to correct something, right? There aren't 2 black people on the bottom row, there are 3, right? DB is like 2% black, and he never shuts the fuck up about it. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
I'm like 5% Sub-Saharan Africa.
Double it. Okay,
the best he's getting is a Mexican frog. He's not getting past Mexico. frog. That's the most
Not
I'll give.
Mexican, it's racist.
Very fucking Mexican.
Are you
Hello.
not Mexican?
He's Mexican, and he like
so now you're gatekeeping
denied.
percentage.
Okay, yeah, he's,
He's
a
like
Mexican frog.
80% Mexican. Thank
And
you.
5% black.
5% black. Thank you, Doobie, for being here. Love to have you here.
Yeah. So what was I going to say? Yeah, I don't think there's really much disagreement for me. I think that we should get rid of the statute of limitations. Doesn't seem like the issue that ruined the Boy Scouts was just getting rid of the statute. It was more that they didn't require enough evidence. So you can get rid of that without getting rid of the requirement for strong evidence that can be tested. That seems like the reasonable thing to do.
And just so everyone knows, I'll just say my position on this. I'm actually quite torn on this, right? I feel like I'm closer to Lacto's position, but like I think there's like strong a case on either side, and so I'm really excited as to like how this shakes out. But yeah, let's go.
Okay,
Nobody brought this up though. I was gonna say it was like
Who's driving the disagreement?
Is the like for example, I've heard people argue, like statute of limitations, especially for like little kid cases, because you can have like people take advantage and like plant memories or like suggest shit, people remember shit falsely, and eyewitness testimony is already worse, like least reliable. Now then it starts being like, oh, so now you don't
Are there any
trust
documented cases of that?
victims. I mean, I don't know. This is just an argument.
Hold on,
This is not my argument.
false memories? Yeah.
No, not a fine. I know there are documented cases of that, as in like the scenario that he appears to be outlining of someone, let's say, implanting a memory to a child and that child making an accusation.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
I can't think of the specifics,
Is there
but basically
can you
the therapist
link
is
a
like,
documented case of that?
I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
for a fact there
I
is.
don't know about
the
sexual
ones-
abuse, but I know
seen
there
it.
is with like.
I'm
Yeah,
sure there's a
they're-
few
like,
cases of that
happens
happening.
with
and
yes,
it's not when they say plan it. It doesn't necessarily even have to be on
Stuff that's
purpose.
part
Like
of
the
the
therapist
conversation,
will be like asking questions, and they're like, "Oh wait," and then so they ask enough, and then eventually they'll remember something, and that didn't happen, and it's like they planted this thought because it's like they went down a line,
They,
and the
they,
person
they
like,
triggered a
Well,
false
okay,
memory.
yeah.
misremembering is different than
No. So like, if I'm like,
So-
if you're trying to find trauma, right, and they're like asking over all these different questions because they're trying to figure out what would cause this, the therapist, right, and then eventually they
Yeah.
like keep going, like, well, were you ever whatever, and the guy's like, oh no, but then they keep thinking, like, oh, maybe that one time there was this one time I remember maybe this happening, and like it's like a thing that never actually happened, but it's like because they've been pushed down like a line of thought, they
Okay,
start
wait.
thinking maybe
I don't
maybe
discount.
this is-
I don't just wait. Wait. I
That's
don't
like one
discount that
word
can
for
happen. Wait. Are you saying just to clarify, to make it explicitly clear of what you were saying? Are you like making an accusation of like someone intentionally trying to get a child, or just through unintentional, like through the therapy process?
I would
someone can
say
misremember
most
something?
likely the unintentional one,
As in,
but like
Are
maybe
you saying
a-
something
like,
nefarious?
I would say like I meant more along the not nefarious, but now that you mention
Okay,
it, maybe
okay.
the nefarious.
I don't
Well,
necessarily.
Gibbs, if
even
you
then,
want
I would
to-
want a documented case of that.
Yeah, I mean I don't
if
know.
you want to propose this for the reason of like providing a scenario that is plausible, then it is plausible. I would say the more likely scenario, and the one that I'm much more concerned about, is when an adult takes advantage of a kid and manipulates them to shut up. That's the one that I'm like more concerned about, especially considering they
likely.
have more likely as well. They have every incentive of the world to manipulate their mind at that point once they've done a traumatic event to them. So that one,
I don't
probably is
disagree
more
with that
likely.
either. Yeah, I mean that's probably is more likely. I once again, it's just like I would say this is something I've heard as an argument for the statute and things, like especially when people like go and try to dive into trauma with like their therapist. Like people start like going down trains of thoughts, and since they're not the professional, they start like coming to conclusions in their head.
Yeah, but that's not even an issue related to statute of limitations, because that could happen immediately, right?
Sure, but I mean, if you haven't gone to therapy for like 30 years, you're trying to deal with like some kind of, I don't know, abandonment issue or something, and then like you're like they start asking all these questions. You're like, well, did this happen when you were in childhood? You know?
Yeah, but it might be even more likely when they're children to make up false.
Sure,
memories.
that could be. I mean, that's a good point too.
I just know that like the false memory thing, I don't know specifically related to sexual abuse, but like it is a thing like that happens with children with parents that split. Parents can end up selling that like, oh, we left your dad because he was a violent person, he was these things, and like kids end up picking sides against their parents, and they like it's more so related to the parents' stuff than what actually happened with the child. Like they just get, so that is a thing. Again, I don't have a specific related to sexual abuse regarding that.
Are any of us
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
where's the disagreement, or where are we disagreeing here?
Well, I just sort of
Well,
slightly
dude-
mildly disagree with statute of limitations. I think that was the
Yeah, I think there's a few people here. Some people believe that we should get
Yeah,
rid of
Doobie
statute
said
of
no.
limitations.
So if you,
Yeah.
when it comes to children, like this is like I think the most sympathetic case, but it's also one of the most dangerous cases because children are, obviously fantastical, right? They tend to believe
Right.
a whole bunch of different things. They're very easily manipulated. They tend to have poor recount of things, and so there is a concern as to false allegations stemming from children, right? Like I've seen children say all sorts of things. A friend of mine, she said that when she was a kid, she just accused her parents of pushing her down the stairs, and she said it didn't happen. She just would lie constantly as a child. It's just something that she did. Kids will just say shit. But at the same time, because they're easily manipulated, they're also victims, unfortunately, of horrific crimes, and they oftentimes don't have the wherewithal to fully, to bring that towards the proper authorities. And so, yeah, it's a kind of a catch-22 where shit, like we want to avoid the negative aspects of deterioration of evidence and false memories, false claims. But on the other hand, we want to make sure people actually are in a position to bring claims that are entirely valid when otherwise they just simply couldn't do it. A lot of states, what they've done and to compromise on this is what they'll do is you do have a statute of limitations, but the clock starts ticking when you turn 18. So when you turn 18, you're an adult. It's your responsibility now to know to bring the case if you feel like you were wronged in some way when you were a child, but you have to do it within a certain period of time. I kind of lean towards that the most because there's a compromise here, right? Like you're not going to have like fantastic, like incredibly old cases that were where the evidence is degraded beyond recognition. Yes, there's going to be some evidence degradation, but unfortunately that's the trade-off. But on the other hand, there is an opportunity for people when they become adults to make the claims. So I mean, what do you got? That's to me probably the best compromise. I don't know what you guys think about that.
If I remember, yeah, and I'm still reading through the Wikipedia article. Thank you for sending
Sure.
it. It's a very interesting case. But like,
Yeah.
if I remember from your opening statement, I believe you mentioned that like one of the justifications for a statute of limitations is like, let's say the person who might be accused is not holding on to everything. Since like if there's a potentially looming lawsuit or criminal case, it's like, 10, 20 years down the road, if you've deleted that email, but does that not work in both ways, as in like the evidence degrades for the crime and your evidence degrades for the defense as well?
It does, but in America, we tend to put an emphasis on defense against wrongful accusations more so than we tend to put a deference towards positive accusations, right? So,
Sure.
and I think part of the reason for this is because you're wielding the awesome power of the state when whether it be criminal or civil, you are bringing the power of the state upon somebody, and we want to be really careful when we do this. You're right. I mean, forgive me. What's your name again? Riddell was correct when he stated that with civil cases, it's a lower standard. It's 50+1. It's a lower standard than it is for civil cases or criminal cases because you're right. The stakes are still a little bit lower, even though it is still the awesome power of the state. But in large part, here's the problem. In large part, like, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Innocence Project, but the Innocence Project, a lot of what they've done is use DNA evidence to vindicate and to really save.
And I believe that's one of the things that
men.
bypasses the statute of limitations. But correct me if I'm obviously not a legal expert.
Sure, no, for sure. But the important thing is looking at how they were prosecuted, which is oftentimes faulty eyewitness testimony. Oh, I knew for a fact it was that guy who raped me. Turns out the DNA evidence shows it wasn't. Turns out this is entirely invented memory due to trauma or a mistake, right? This has happened. This is documented hundreds of times. This is documented of happening. So yeah, and juries tend to believe very convincing testimony, even if it's entirely false. So and testimony is evidence. So yeah, if you go up on a stand, Corey, and let's just say like you're not super convincing or whatever, but you had evidence that was exculpatory, but it's since degraded. You don't have it anymore. You've deleted the email that gave you the alibi, and the other person goes on stage and under a false memory or mistaken identity, they are incredibly powerful. They testify in an incredibly powerful way. The jury's crying. It's it's horrible. You just might be fucked. You might be fucked in a criminal case. I mean, that's what the Innocence Project does. And so in a civil case where the bar is even lower, that's a concern.
Okay,
I do
but
want to make a.
what I just want to clarify. I just want to press a little bit further. So then, in that context, then are you in favor of a statute of limitations for every crime?
Yeah, I think I'd be okay with I think I would be okay
Because
with a statute of
from what I
limitations
understand,
for every
there's
crime.
some crimes that there's like, I believe murder is one
Murder,
of them.
murder typically doesn't have a statute of limitations. I when it comes to like really bad crimes, there's obviously like a concern of like we can't let the interest in.
But your
making
argument
sure this
holds
person
true in the
doesn't
case
get
of
away with it.
murder. Someone can accuse me and come up with a convincing story. If I just
No,
come up with-
yeah.
The
No, I
will-
know. And by the way, how I would maybe. This is a good question, and how I would maybe address this would be like, because it's such a serious crime, perhaps you would still let murder cases go forward, but the standard required for conviction after a certain time period has passed would be extraordinarily high, right? Like we would need to have the DNA evidence. We would need to have like shit where it's like, oh shit, like you really did it. I'm not comfortable having
or would you
witnesses
somehow,
being able to put somebody in
I'm
prison.
sure there's probably not feasible, but
There's-
scale it as in like based off of the time passed, the burden just increases.
Yeah, well, something
Linearly.
that we always need to be aware of whenever we talk about this is the unfortunate reality is that like of sexual abuse almost always boils down to a he said she said,
Very, yep.
and
Most of
that's a really 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 difficult threshold because it's such a serious awful thing that happened, but there's usually very rarely a strong amount of evidence wherein when it comes to murder there's necessarily at least a body,
Yeah, but I can just look up some
damages are
unsolved
very
case. There's
concrete.
many
no
bodies.
I agree.
lying
I'm just saying that these are different categories for that reason. It's just there's usually a lack of evidence given the nature of the crime is based off of consent where you can't really consent to kill someone. Does that make sense? And a consent is almost necessarily a he said she said situation. Now,
Yep.
there's definitely more factors to this. There can be evidence that exists there, especially if they deny that sex happened. Then obviously there's rape kits, which can determine if semen
Yep.
entered the body. There's a lot of different factors to this. I'm not trying to distill it down to
Those are
just one
time sensitive
conversation.
though.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a huge conversation. Is that I think that's those within like 24 hours. Those can almost be. It's a very you kind of have to decide to do it soon.
But
And
also, consent doesn't apply when it comes to children.
No, I agree.
True.
I agree with that for sure. Which is why they have to just deny that it happened. Right. That's super fair. But these are one-time events that, or I don't know. I'm not trying to excuse the event. I'm just trying to say it's
I don't think
really
you are.
complicated.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
everybody obviously everybody's okay. Like if the child comes forward at the time, yeah, like obviously they can still go forward. What we're talking about is statute of limitations. We're talking about
Mhm.
a kid coming forward, or somebody who's like 30 or 40 coming forward and saying, "When I was 8 years old, this happened to me."
So
That is a tough case.
I think
But
I think
that's
with like
why-
an isolated. Oh, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to and then you can go. I want to make sure we're separating the conversation a little bit. You guys are talking about criminal. This is a civil case, and this is a case
We're talking about civil
regarding-
as well.
No, but in this situation, the evidence was the fact that they already created like a whole memoir, a Boy Scout list of people who were already considered people who were abused children. Like, so the case of the Boy Scouts organization was already there of like them having very, very bad people. Now, what needed to be proven in this case was who were the victims. So the sex crime already there. And then they did bankruptcy and is like, okay, who gets the money? And then that's the kind of like the muddy part. Like some people are lying about whether or not they got sexually abused, but the abuse did happen. So that's why
Some
it's
people
like
are,
a different
and
cases.
some people are going to
Um,
lie. I think in cases of like individual, right? If one person comes out and says, "Yeah, 30 years ago, this person assaulted me when I was a child," that's going to be a tough case. But when it comes to like organizations, right? If you're going to have like multiple people, unless you believe that every time you have multiple people come that they're just organizing in order to just file like a class action lawsuit, it's probably not the case. If you have multiple people come out talking about an organization saying that these things happened around this, like around this person, around this time, around this whatever, then that's probably going to be the evidence that you need to like try them and get the money, and that should be fine enough. Obviously, some fraud is going to happen. You're never going to get away with it, especially when it's like 20, 30 years ago. You're always going to get like a handful of people that are going to come in and just try to get some money, but that's kind of like to the detriment of the like organization.
which is a problem.
Not really. They let rape happen. Just because some people frauded them out of some money isn't really like that's not the greater issue in the situation. If the Boy Scouts get destroyed because they have to file bankruptcy because they had these rapes be perpetrated, well, the fact that they lost some money due to fraud isn't like I'm not really going to be concerned with that.
First off, I want to say I have no love for the Boy Scouts. Okay, I don't really give a fuck that they're. Honestly, I'm kind of. It's nuanced. I'm kind of glad
it's a sus company, man. It's the sus thing
For sure.
Well, no, I have some good memories, right? Like I get to be nuanced about this.
Maybe those are false
I'm
memories.
sure you do.
True.
Exactly.
True. But something that we should really often consider is that if the Boy Scouts go bankrupt because of all of these lawsuits, then the kids abused don't get any restitution. They don't get any financial like if enough people pack on and then it's like, well, there's a small center that's true, and then there's a lot more of these fraud cases that dilutes the real issues, and then those kids don't get restitution.
I mean, what's the likelihood that you think that's the case? That it's more fraud than it is actual cases.
Didn't the Boy Scouts go bankrupt? So I think that I would.
Well, that's what
the evidence that it was more fraud than actual abuse. Is that evidence that it was more fraud than actual?
No. I'm not saying that there's more fraud than actual abuse. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that, and Lactoid, correct me if I'm wrong. In these certain cases, if the Boy Scouts announce bankruptcy, which I believe they did, I don't know. I could double check.
They did.
Then no one gets money. They don't have to pay
If
anybody.
they run out of money, they can't get more money.
bankruptcy.
What?
They use the bankruptcy money to give out to the victims. That's what they're using.
They had $1 billion fund after or I think that's what put them in the bankruptcy.
And when that disappears, it's gone, is what Hunter's saying.
Yeah, I think the average settlement is like around $3,000. Like I don't even think we're talking about.
So a couple of people decided, because it was taking forever. It was like a 6-year process. They were like, I want my money now. So a couple of people got like $3,500, which ended up like $2,000 after legal fees for an expedited claim settlement. But there's still a lot of other people that still haven't gotten anything.
But we're talking about this is a matter of scale, though. Right?
I also want to point out that I was reading up on this before this topic here today, and I've noticed.
We're all impressed, Gibbs.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're really gonna be impressed by what I have to say next.
I'm excited.
I saw that specifically the Mormon Church had their own exclusive sex scandals tied to the Boy Scouts.
I fucking said that.
You did, and so I'm glad that you said that. So I think hold on. Yeah, which I wanted to say.
That's what
I think this leads credence to what Corey just said about those false memories being planted. Maybe have you seen a therapist?
To be clear, I took issue with the potential accusation of someone nefariously planting false.
No, I was saying that you just asked me if he had
saying that maybe I was abused as a kid and I forgot about it.
Yeah, false remembering that it wasn't.
By the way, it doesn't necessarily have to be nefarious. Just to be clear,
I don't disagree. As in, sure, I agree with the verdict in the case that you said. That seemed like just bad psychiatrists.
I think most implanted memories are probably either a provider or a parent. I think in probably most cases, trying to dig into what they perceive might be a repressed memory, and in the process of doing so, creating a false one. That would be my prediction. The most probable case this would come about, which again is a concern, because then it'd be a false memory that people kind of build their lives around, and once you ascribe the identity of a victim to yourself, it becomes very difficult to let that go. And we know this just from when AIDS patients, for example, if they were told, oh, by the way, you actually don't have AIDS, the first reaction they had was depression.
But that isn't even what happened.
Because they've created
but that isn't even what happened in this case, though.
Loss of identity.
In this case, it was later on. There was the Boy Scouts file was bad shit happening. They put it out, and then the adults had to come forward and accept. So it's not like there was any like implementation that would have happened. This isn't like the parents tricked the kids and then put these memories in. It was just kind of a free for all, which is that's kind of the greater issue, is that they kind of just put it out there like, hey, who wants this money? Just admit to being, diddled as a kid. Come on over. And that was like the openness. It wasn't like there was a false implementation or any of that situation. The biggest thing you can claim is that there was fraud that happened, but the only thing is you can't really claim the fraud that was happening because it's the Boy Scouts who found out that there was some vile shit going on, and they're the ones who opened the fund. So
Honestly,
this
pretty
shit
stupid.
happened. There were no lies.
Honestly, pretty stupid. I didn't start claiming some shit because
You should have. I don't
You
know why
can
you
be
didn't.
rich now. This is what happens. This is what
Wait,
happens.
why shouldn't?
That's the real tragedy here.
Why shouldn't
be
the Boy
rich.
Scouts of America get frauded out of their money? Who cares at that point?
Here's why.
Well, I
Because
won't go there because the
will.
victims. But the victims won't.
If the victims, so long as they get their money too, right? Like,
yeah, but
this is all under the implication
that's
that
kind of
what's
like-
happening.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's
is-
kind of the problem.
That's what I'm saying is the moment that they go bankrupt, then any new victims don't get anything, don't get any
Well,
restitution.
no, that's not the issue right now. The biggest
They also
issue right
probably
now
get
regarding
less.
yes, I agree. They would get less because the wrong people are getting it, and it's extending the process. And the only people benefiting from the process being extended are lawyers. So it's like that's
Yeah,
kind of like
fair.
the biggest thing.
blood
And when it comes down to
sucking
this situation,
lawyers.
when it comes to
I'm
this
emailing that to your
situation,
boss.
so from what the video said, so the video said something very interesting, utilizing one of the organizations that are benefiting a lot from this case, and one of the people who were advertising, hey, come get money, you're a Boy Scout, you probably got diddled. They put out a false statement saying that you can go out there and go file a claim anonymously. And then a bunch of that shit started happening and people just started throwing out claims. And I also agree that like the bar for you proving whether or not you got fondled, it was like low enough for people to make a claim, which like muddied up the system. Now there was a lot of people who got like their claims rejected because there's like factual inaccuracies in their claims, but then that just kind of begs the question what it's making the stuff go longer, and then of course the possibility of like wrongful people getting money. So that's kind of like the biggest issue.
Well, wait, do the Boy Scouts not have a list of the kids who were in these groups at these times? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, like
these
when you
are
sign
all
up, you're
Boy
That
Scouts.
doesn't mean all of them. were
Yeah, because
molested,
I
though.
could
Exactly.
still come up with I could come up with information like, hey, I was at this place and here was my leader, and I could be correct about that. I could get a lot of factual.
no, well,
information
no,
even if
I'm
I
saying
wasn't.
I'm saying for the Boy Scouts like organization, if they find out that there's this shit going on in their organization by these like certain scout masters, well then it would be easier for you to narrow down the list of at least what happened or who you would reach out to in that case, because then you would have like a
Well-
list of like their scout groups. No,
The Scoutmasters are basically all dead. That's the
but is there no database for
talking
like
about?
is there no database for these, like did you not, when you went to the Boy Scouts, did you not have to sign like a release form or anything?
Yeah,
So like
I don't
they're-
understand your
they're-
question. Yes, that is correct.
That it
I'm
There
shouldn't
was
be-
some, yeah.
that
I'm
that-
sure
that
there's
it
a
shouldn't be this muddy.
conversation.
That it shouldn't be this muddied. You should know who are in these groups, and then that should make the list smaller, so it shouldn't be that muddied.
Yeah, but anyone who's
No?
a
Am I
Boy
wrong
Scout
here?
at all could just start claiming that.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah.
get then you
I
get
know,
went to
yeah.
scout camp, so I get to say, like, I wasn't diddled, so I could just go, hey, I know a
Yes,
couple
I
scout
know,
leaders
but
that I
like
can-
Yeah,
once
and
again,
then- and then-
the boys. Wait, real quick. The Boy Scouts are the ones who found the list of scoutmasters who did the offenses. So what I'm saying is, you would look at the list of who their scout groups were. Is there not like scout groups for specific scout masters? Is that not how? I'm
You know,
actually. I
that-
don't
I
know.
all
don't
that
think
is
there's like
fine.
a black book.
There can
of-
be a lot of intermingling.
Not a black
between
book.
different-
Like if I sign up for a college class, there's
You're
oh my God,
missing
history
something.
of
Yeah,
me
but
being
there's
in
not
that
a
Yeah,
class.
black
yeah.
book of the predators either. It's not like there's like a
Well, there was
So,
some
I
documentation as
can-
to who got. Okay, well, you go right up, but I'll you go first. And
Yeah, I can respond. So the biggest
Yeah.
problem here is the fact that they can't prove whether or not these people are telling the truth about the person who abused them. That's like
Yes.
the biggest issue going on here, because the only thing they have to do is they have to kind of confirm they're in the Boy Scouts, which what you said would help. Confirm they're in the Boy Scouts. Probably have a corroborator, or you can cross reference their name. Describe the event, and you kind of can make that up. And then third, name the person that abused. And of course, there's a list that you can kind of cherry pick from. And a lot of these people are dead, so you can't really confirm with them whether or not they abused you. So
I don't mean confirm.
Plus, you might get some crazy person.
So wait, no, hold on. I understand the confusion. Ollie. It's
Yeah.
not like these people have it's not like the Scoutmasters or staff have to be convicted pedophiles first to make the claim. You could just claim anybody at any point in the Scouts.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's kind of that. Okay, cool. That's more what I was wondering. I thought there was like a direct list that they were pulling from.
No,
because that's what probably made it sound like a little bit earlier that there was like there were
That's
these
not my
Scoutmasters that you could
Yeah,
claim
but, I mean,
to, or maybe I misheard something.
In fact,
no,
one
there
of
is
my-
a list
one of
of
my
like
scout
Scoutmasters
leaders-
that were abusers. That list.
That was like
but,
that was like put
yeah.
out. That's
For example,
Yeah.
one of
But
my
you're not
scout leaders-
limited to that list though, are
I
you?
No,
know-
exactly.
yeah,
Because wait,
I
hold
thought-
on,
No,
I
you're
thought it
not.
was-
You're not.
One of,
No,
one
you're
of my
not.
scout leaders died
Okay.
of cancer. I could just say that he abused me.
Yeah,
okay,
genuinely-
fair.
Well, you're also going to get these
yeah.
crazy people that are going to sue and be like, "Hey, I
Well-
want to get on this list because I was the only one who wasn't diddled in the group or something," and then you
And-
get like,
and-
or like
Yes.
other crazy reasons. Yeah, I mean,
And-
you act
and
like
so-
this isn't a thing people do though. They're like crazy fucking.
I am
and
acting
another-
like that's a thing that people don't do.
yeah,
yes.
and people are going to do it just to make money. I mean, all these reasons, bro.
That's more likely.
I mean, both are
And,
likely.
and another thing is that like so let's say you were in a scout troop, right? But the scout troop you were in, the guy wasn't accused of diddling, and you don't want to accuse that guy, right? You want to put his name out there. Well, you have another option, right? And that's the jamborees, right? Like the Boy Scouts get together in big groups, right? Like they like all across the region, right? They do these big jamborees. Well, that's why I was diddled by this other guy who was at the jamboree, right? There's so many opportunities for this.
Fair.
Yeah, but I do
And-
think. Go ahead.
I was going to say on top of that, I mean, so that's one issue that I think is concerning. Of just like, well, who cares? They can just go bankrupt. But the other concern I have is, no, I'm sorry, like I don't an organ like what? Okay, just bankrupt the Catholic Church, just bankrupt the Mormons. No, I think that like organizations very often over time change in character, they change in staff, they change in nature. I don't think that just because the Scouts had like a scandal that means they should just disappear.
Well, if they had a history
Hot
of
take.
covering it up, and they have a history of
Yeah,
the same
those
thing-
specific
Yeah.
people.
I don't know if you get. To, I don't know if
That's
you get
a-
to just kind of bounce back from
No.
that
But
as an
that's It's a
organization.
good point, and I appreciate Laxwood bringing it up because we often reify these ideas of organizations, and it bothers me about like it's the same way that the left talks about like the FBI. It's like, okay, well, those are new fucking people in there. It's not like it's not like the people who were there. Whatever. I'm bringing this in.
New people, old tricks. You're gonna have
Yeah,
a
but
bunch of
it's
the
not-
new people
it's-
doing the old tricks.
Yeah,
That's
but
kind of
you're
the issue
saying
with
it like it's
new
this-
them being new people.
You're
But it
saying it like
doesn't
it's
have-
necessarily it's
Go ahead.
necessarily hereditary.
No,
There
no,
would
but-
be a lot of things that just die out when people leave.
But
Yeah, but what's the
hold on.
likelihood of it dying out just
I
off
don't know
the
what's the
whim?
likelihood of it
Yeah,
continuing.
hold on.
You don't know
Hold-
either.
hold-
I mean,
hold on.
higher than it
I-
just
I-
dying out.
I don't
I am
know. You're
sympathetic
saying
to
I'll stake
argument.
that.
I am
You're just
sympathetic to
saying
this
that.
argument in general,
not.
right? I think like when Alactoid applies this to the Boy Scouts, I would agree, right? Like there was a point in the organization, things have changed, they can change, right? Like and the Boy Scouts have been existed for a very short amount of time. Was it like a century or so, right? They've existed. Okay, right? I actually disagree when we're talking about the Catholic Church.
You
The
got the
Catholic
kid
Church
diddling
has
out of the
been
way.
around for centuries. Like the Catholic abuse scandals, right? They went back decades, right? And the point that they stopped wasn't like the point where it began. That was just like the oldest victims that we could find.
I understand,
Right?
but what if
Like,
what if
We're
I'll
not
finish.
bankrupting the Catholic
I'll
Church, though.
finish. I know.
I
But
do
like-
want to respond?
like,
Yeah, go ahead.
I would love to hear your
Oh,
thoughts.
I'll to him too.
But yeah, like so and I'm not talking about bankrupting them, right? My point is that like defining their character. With the Catholic Church, right? Like there's no reason to believe that this was a new thing that happened in this century or the last century or the century before that. In fact, we have evidence. We have evidence going back like centuries, like just in American history. We have evidence, right? This happening in the with the Native American schools where they like kidnap the kids and put them in the charge of the Catholic Church, right? There's abuse happening there. Like if the farther you go back, we can keep finding evidence of this, right? Fucking Martin Luther, not King, Martin Luther, when he was making complaints about the Catholic Church, talked about like child rape in the Vatican.
Yeah.
Martin
Martin Luther
Luther
King had
talked
different
about-
allegations.
Neither King had different allegations.
Those were way
but
less severe.
but
Cheating. Who
but
the
like
fuck cares?
Not just
but like,
cheating.
but
Not
like
the newest ones, at
understand
least.
this. Like, and this is I had to tell my father this when this was happening because my father's Catholic. But I'm like, you got to think about this. The further back in the past, with the and this is not true about the Boy Scouts, well, at least not in the same way. But like, or most other organizations. But for the Catholic Church, the further back in the past, the more powerful the Catholic Church has been, right? The less accountable. Remember, and at some point in Europe, right, the Catholic Church was responsible for naming kings. Kings bowed to the Pope, right? Like, so like that organization, right? Back then, do you think they were more accountable, more caring about the kids and like in the pedophiles and
Who
whatever
the fuck is
predators
defending
there?
the Catholic Church
Like,
from the 1500s?
hold on, wait a minute. I'm making a point. I'm responding to Lagtoid and making a
I'm
point,
listening.
right? Like,
We're waiting
yeah.
for the plane to
So
land.
Lagtoid talked about like in the thing I'm specifically responding to is the character, right? Yes. So I could think, yeah, the character of the church, right, has been the one of abuse for literal centuries, right? But again, I don't apply this to the Boy Scouts. That's a different thing.
Wait, why don't you apply it to the
hold
Boy
on,
Scouts?
I wanna
Since its
talk about that,
inception,
what you
since
just
its
said.
beginnings, it had these problems. So then
Well,
like, I would
I
apply
think
it
I think
directly.
that I think
I don't know
Prime
if
Prime
that
is
is.
Prime
I
is hitting
was
on something.
patient.
Okay,
And
I want to respond to Prime after you. Go ahead.
Well,
Okay,
I'm responding so that and then Gibbs
Yeah.
can go. I think my issue here is that whatever. I saw this I've seen this so many times. I can use so many different examples. But like I guess my question is what if the next pope, I actually forget who's pope right now. Guy
That's
from
the American
Chicago.
Pope, the
The
Chicago
USA
Pope.
Yeah, what's his name? I forgot his name.
I don't know.
Current
It's
Pope?
not-
I think it's
Charlie
Pope Francis.
Chicago.
Pope
I
Leo.
believe in real
Francis.
Jesus.
Okay, apparently no one
Leo?
knows. Pope
Is it
Pope
Chicago.
Leo?
Francis,
Is
keep
it
saying
Leo?
it. Pope Francis.
Francis?
I heard a
No,
bunch
Francis
of
is
Leos.
dead.
I thought it was.
Were you talking about the current one or the last one?
I don't fucking
Yeah,
care.
current.
Pope
Francis is the-
Chicago. When Pope
Francis is dead.
Chicago,
Francis
I
was
don't
the last
care.
one.
I don't care. It
Which
doesn't
one?
matter.
Pope Chicago. Let's go.
No,
What I'm
call him
doing
by
is
his
Deep
name.
Dish.
everyone
please.
keeps
Chicago.
having
I
a
like him.
conversation that I don't care about. Okay,
No,
when
yeah.
Pope Chicago comes to the scene, and he goes, let's just say he does this. Okay, I don't actually know if he did, but let's say he goes
Oh,
super
I guess I was
hardcore, and he
wrong.
goes, we have
It
to
is Leo.
I said Leo.
uproot all of this
sorry.
abuse. We have to be recognized. We have to recognize all of the harm that we've done. We should do restitution for all the information that we have. We should kick out every single person who is part of these convictions. And he continues to do this, and he basically goes full ham against essentially, centuries.
Drains
of-
the swamp.
Yeah, he drains the swamp. Is that still the Catholic Church?
Yeah, is the Catholic
The Catholic Church about
without
raping is still the Catholic Church.
Are you asking that like, are we really Catholics? if
No,
we don't-
because Ollie seems to make the claim that like raping is part of the tenets of the Catholic Church, and that's why it must be disrupted.
No, it's
And I'm
part
like,
of the
you're-
organization.
it's a
part
brand
of the
issue.
organization
Like, it
of the
needs to be
church. Not
brand.
It's a
part of
brand
the
issue, of
tenets.
course, but of
No,
course
it's-
I can agree it's a brand issue.
It's when
but, like,
when you have lonely men in charge of groups of little boys. These things are probably
Now-
going to happen, which is
yeah.
probably the issue with the Boy Scouts. Is you have these lonely men
You're
in
not-
charge of groups of
See,
little boys.
hold
being
on.
hungry. It's probably things are going to happen.
I
You know,
okay.
like-
That actually ties into what I want to say directly. Like
Well,
I just
Hunter's not done yet.
Okay, go ahead.
Hunter's not
Yeah,
done yet. Let him
Hunter
have.
finish.
Let
Don't
him
worry,
ball.
Gibbs. We'll go to you afterwards.
You're not tackling what I'm saying, because what you're
I am.
saying is we should just prevent kids from being around lonely adults. We should essentially not have churches. We shouldn't have organizations. It's not that we should have.
No, I didn't say you
No
shouldn't have churches or
schools.
to have no way. I
That
didn't say
was
you
the
shouldn't
angle
have
that you
churches or
basically
organizations.
Unsupervised.
That's the angle that you positioned at. Okay,
No,
okay.
supervise it better.
You
No,
think that's
I-
a bad
so-
thing.
So why can't the Catholic Church do that? It seems like
Okay.
you want to
Because they're not doing that. So like they can do that, and if they want to do the rebrand, and Pope Leo wants to come out and be like, "Yo, I'm going to drain the swamp and get all the diddlers out. We're going to do restitutions." Game, but they're not doing that. So like I don't believe that they're going to. So as of right now, as it stands, I don't
Okay,
really see
that's
the change that you want me to
fine.
see in the
That's
people.
I
You know.
do think that the change. I don't know enough about the Catholic Church rebranding, honestly, but I do
What
know
about
that
the Boy
they did a
Scouts?
distinct change with the Boy Scouts. Like they really, really, really push hard
Change their name.
against like.
What are they?
Yeah, sure, but they also like.
I think it's
No,
a
I'm not
different
being. I'm not. I wasn't saying that
Changed a lot of
facetiously.
the
I'm saying they
rules.
like literally changed the brand.
And like
they're-
speaking
they're
as
not
like a
even just
Mormon,
boys anymore.
speaking as a Mormon, it used to be actually required by doctrine that I have to speak alone to a bishop. They changed that so a woman always has to be in the room. That's like a policy change. And I guess my question is like, it feels weird when we're not allowing policy changes to affect the organization, where you still say that the entire thing needs to go up in flames.
I think a religious group and a club are different, but
Yeah.
in terms of like the group or the organization, they can institute this change. My issue is that we'd have to wait 10, 15 years down the line to see if the change actually happened. And like that's just not a risk I'm really willing to like gamble with.
But it's not even a gamble. You're not even. It's just they're different people and they're implementing different.
Prime was
things.
saying this
It's
group
not-
hasn't existed for about a century. So like this is a new group, and then within its inception, these issues have happened. These are new. These are pretty big issues. New issues have happened. So like
Okay.
for me, that organization is tainted, and I don't necessarily believe that these people have like if they've let this shit happen in the past, maybe it went under their eyes, right? Maybe they weren't good at investigation, or maybe they weren't good at weeding out the people that they needed to hire. Maybe they didn't have good observations, but like their negligence doesn't tell me that like, oh, okay, I should give them another chance.
Okay, sure.
Like,
I'm
Hunter,
gonna
would
end
you
with
do it?
this.
Like,
I'm gonna end with
Hunter,
this. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Bam.
I just want to ask you before you end.
Yeah,
Would
for
you
sure.
let the like? Do you think that like the Klan could rebrand? Like, because as like a white men's gentleman club type
Okay.
thing.
Yeah, they have
One-
rebranded the SPLC now. That's
Shut the fuck up. You're so annoying. I would say that if you had a Klansman, the next Grand Wizard or whatever, and he's
Because
like,
that's what David
fuck
Duke's
this.
goal was technically. He
yeah, but he was
obviously,
still
like,
he was
his
sure he
goal
was
to rebrand
rebranding,
it.
but he
Yeah, but
was
did they want
still-
to
core tenets
brand
was
away
still-
from white supremacy?
Exactly.
Like,
I
what?
think he was still like, hey, I like having a white ethno state, but I think we could be chill about it.
That's not
Yeah, they
exactly
didn't want to
a
be
rebrand.
violent. That was
Yeah,
part
yeah,
one of the
that's my
rebrand.
issue. My issue wasn't I mean, the issue was also violence, but it's not just. It doesn't get
Yeah,
fixed when you just remove
He,
the violence.
he was like white supremacists dressed in suits, not like the robes. and
Yeah,
stuff,
exactly.
Right? Like,
There's
that
a
was-
Let's
lot of-
update our wardrobe,
That's
people.
step
Yeah,
one
that's
of
not
the
my issue.
rebrand, though.
That's not my issue with the KKK.
But I'm
And
saying, do you
it-
think that they could change it enough and still be what it is?
Yes,
feel
I
like
think
the-
that if a Grand Wizard is like, hey, genuinely, we're getting rid of all of this and we're just going to be brothers and we're going to have some black people involved, I don't think that a single,
Well,
it's such a huge shakeup and it's such a core tenet of what the Ku Klux Klan stands for that I don't think that it would be able to handle that change.
okay.
But if it could, then sure.
No, Well, no, if you,
Well, you
I'm about to
can't
say if you,
change
I
the
see the
core
same
tenet.
thing
Wait,
about Wait, hold on,
no,
hold on.
we're going right
Not
to
only
Gibbs.
do I
just-
agree with you, the Democratic Party, I agree with you. Because the Democratic Party was racist as fuck.
They
And
still
now
are.
I stand behind it.
Are you talking about the party switch? No, but what I want to
Which
say,
didn't
like
happen.
the last thing about this, because I
Yeah.
don't think we're going to come back to it,
Oh,
Yeah.
is the like if you've talked to people or see interviews of people who actually are members of the Klan, the unfortunate reality or the reality of it is that it's not necessarily I think it's as bad as we think
Yeah,
it
it's
is,
also
but it's not the caricature we think it is.
it's also
If
a
you ask
communal thing to them, right? Is
No,
that
but
what
I'm
you're
just saying, if you ask a Klansman, like if you they say they're like, oh yeah, you don't think black people should exist, they're not gonna say that. They're gonna say
Sure.
they're gonna
But
say
they're
that
gonna
like
say we should
sure,
have a
there's good
state
black people, there's good white
just for
people.
white
He's
they
like,
should just get the fuck out of here.
no, they don't say
Just
that.
keep us
That's what I'm saying.
separate.
That's
Okay, what do they
that's-
say? What do they say? What
that-
are the core
they
tenets?
typically say that they know and they've met black people who were fine and upstanding.
Okay, and then what do
but
we
they're
do?
here?
What do you stand for?
But that they just stand for white rights. They feel like they've been stepped on. They're the true minority of the
So
country.
no policy
and they're just
issues? No policy distinction?
no.
don't-
I
you
mean,
don't
if in reality, it's a reason why
Why do
they
you
get why
let
they
black
get
people into the
indoctrinating
KKK?
people.
I don't know.
It's
I'm
not
gonna have
what-
a lot of structural issues with the KKK. I'm not gonna be defending them today.
for sure, but I'm just saying that I'm saying that
but I'm
like people don't get swindled into it because they think they're joining the evil.
I agree
organization.
with you. I agree that there's a communal aspect to it, but I
No,
also
not just communal. I'm saying the things
What?
that they advocate for, like on paper, like aren't as crazy. Like what they do.
They're not just like a crazy
than what
white
they say.
nationalist
agree.
group
I
according to
agree.
these people that are joining up. It's
but
not
they're
just
also
a crazy
white
white
nationalist
nationalist group.
I know.
Yes,
I
they
know.
are.
There's a more
They're
human.
smarter
Sort
aspect.
of the
with their
Groypers,
degree.
but like there's a reason why
we gotta-
Mexicans
we gotta-
join the Groypers.
I agree. Wait, hold on.
Okay.
Of course, but I'm just saying they also stand for white ethno states, and that
Yeah.
shit is disgusting to me. So no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to defend them. And that's
So let's.
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
we
no,
can
no,
move, we can move it away. Yeah, yeah.
I- I just want to move forward. I'm going to go to Gibbs, but like, thank you to Respect for 6 years of support, like my longest running supporter, right? shout out to you for resubbing. Thank you for sticking with us for all this time. I hope you're still in chaplain. Yeah, respect you so much for the kindness.
6 years of respect.
6 years of respect, right? Unlike the disrespect they get from lots of you people for years and years at a time. But thank you so much. It was really kind of you. Seriously, shout out to you. 72 months. That's amazing. I just wanted to like take time to say that I'm just so grateful. Thank you so much. All right, let's go to our friend Gibbs.
Yeah, so I think that you and Ali have identified something, but and y'all are saying character, but I think the character like that might be an issue, but it's like a secondary or like issue, or it's a resulting issue of what the actual problem is, right? Which is, I think that Ali kind of hit the nail on the head when it's identifying certain conditions. And I think it's like, okay, having a group like the Boy Scouts or the Catholic Church where you have single males who are generally not married, or if they are married, they're kind of like sus, taking men or like taking young boys alone out to areas where they have no supervision, or if they do have supervision, it's like someone else that's of the same like philosophy as them, who might be, also a diddler or something, and they have way too much power. Like, there's all sorts of organizations like this that, like, I think maybe we should probably look at. Like, anytime, like you brought up the policy changes that the Latter-day Saints did, right, where they have a woman always in the room. There's been like all sorts of revisions through a lot of churches to avoid this, right? And like, I'm not talking about like some of these things where like, oh, only men should be like deacons or elders in the church. That's like, we're talking about like grown adults. Whatever's happening at that time, it's one thing, but then it's like having Papa Gibbs knows us religion, baby. I told you these degrees weren't total bullshit. And so when I'm sitting over here, like listening to what y'all are saying, like I think policy's into it, but I think that when we should be really like concerned, because it's how these groups are getting these people like in these positions. Like, it's a certain set of all the same groups have all the same attributes, and like Ali named several of them. And I think like we should start taking a look at any group that's maybe doing this, because
Just to course correct.
Because
I think hold on. Just to immediately discredit something that you said. No scoutmaster in the Mormon Church is unmarried.
Well, I'm not saying that specifically, right? I'm saying like even if they are married, right, you're putting them in a position where you have
I understand, but you're saying there's like these distinct character traits that crop up again and again. And
but you can see
similar ones. People in the Mormon Church aren't married because they love their wives or they want to have. That's just kind of something. But something that you fell into, right? Didn't you just get married?
But hold on, let me just.
That's what you do.
But let me finish. But hold on, real quick, because there's other examples. Hold on. Just let me finish. Yeah, because and we can use married people too. We can look at youth ministers having like the grooming conversation and include in with. I know tons of youth ministers that immediately got married to someone the minute they turned 18. It's like, wait a minute, that's pretty sus that y'all are now married 3 weeks after she turned 18. Like, okay, there's all these, and I think it's an attribute. Maybe it's not just the married aspect, but it's this attribute of putting adults in positions where there's no overview, and we can look at and with a bunch of kids where they have the ability to be alone with them, and we should maybe start taking a look at all these groups, because I think it's not necessarily the character, because I think but it's the situation draws people of a certain character to these places, and like I think there needs to be some sort of more oversight, whether it's like in a private or in the religious aspect or like governmental. But that's where we need to start looking, as opposed to it's the conservative Catholics, or it's the whatever, because it seems to be these situations pop up in every group, right, left, or whatever, if these conditions are met. Like, it's kind of what I'm arguing.
Okay, I want to throw in one more thing. I don't disagree with anything Gibbs is saying, which is what's confusing me, because he's saying it like it disagrees with anything that I'm saying.
I didn't say it was
also
not.
This
was my response to Prime, and Prime
disagree with it now.
Great, then me and you are right on this.
I was just saying, because Prime was saying it was the character, and I think it's more the like situation.
I'm not defending the Boy Scouts or the Mormon Church. If you guys like,
so just I do have a question about the church thing. About the. Do we think that like having a woman in the room with a deacon and like the young boy really, what level of protection do we think that adds? Like
some level,
more
minimal.
I feel like very minimal, because like I feel like the women working within the church were probably also part of the cover-up scandals of the church. So like
that's fair.
I think that's a poor understanding of how these sort of situations occur. Yeah. Like as if everyone sort of knows
that the nuns would defend the priests.
Yeah,
That's
no,
a
but
poor
the nun, no,
understanding?
no, 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 no. But the nuns defend the priests because they believe that Satan has injected these minds to
Sure.
corrupt them. Like it's not because they genuinely think that it's happening, and they're like, we have to defend them anyway.
But they're
This is
but
all
they're
more-
part of the cover, but they're still part of the cover up nonetheless. And so like them being in the
Why do
rooms
you
doesn't
keep
really
pivoting away from my point? My point is only that if,
yes,
largely speaking, a lot of these
Mhm.
women were aware or saw these incidents occur, they would
Mhm.
either one happen far, far less, or two, they would be broadcasted way more often. Now, I'm not saying that's sufficient. Sure, there's a lot more shit we could be doing. If you want to say that's minimal, okay, fair enough. We could be doing more things.
Generally, the more
But,
witnesses,
like-
well, I'm
the
kind of
better.
just speaking to like the fact of like the rebrand doesn't really matter. The rebrand could just
Yeah,
be
but,
exactly that, which is like a rebrand to cover up. Hey, let's just make this less conspicuous.
But this comes back to what I was saying to you in
Alright.
Prime, is if you eliminate this like condition, right? Then like, because I think the condition draws people.
How do you
of
eliminate the
this case.
condition?
Well, that's the question, right? So like, okay, he
Yeah.
talked about his policy prescription was include a woman in these like one-on-one meetings. with
That's
these
not
religious-
my fucking
No,
policy.
No, okay, no, that's not your policy, but you was a policy prescription. You just said that the Church of Latter-day Saints
Fine.
is implemented, right? So like if we're like, I guess what is the policy prescription? I mean, you have to do something. I would argue that's probably at least a start. You know, like maybe like don't have organizations that are like, let's take a bunch of kids out to the woods with 2 adults and that have no supervision other than that. Like, I mean, maybe that's another good start. Like,
Well,
you know,
isn't adult supervision? So like, what other supervision? would
yeah,
you
but
need?
are they unrelated to you? Like, at least like, I mean, I don't know. It seems pretty suspicious to
Yeah,
have
well,
like.
I can let me
The
try to
unrelated
help
part,
with
believe
this.
me, is not the issue.
Let
mean,
me
sure.
this kind of like dovetails what I was
Like,
going to
I
say,
agree.
right? So like I
I mean,
wanted
then we're
to,
just not going to trust parents ever, I guess.
I wanted to respond to
Stop!
Gibbs.
You're such
I
a
want to respond-
conservative. Sometimes it pisses me off.
I wanted to respond to Gibbs, and then I'd like, you know, if Radel has more to say, and then Lactoid, and then our friend Doobie. I want Doobie to jump in at some point. I haven't forgotten about you, but I'm just gonna respond quickly to what Gibbs said first. Yeah, so like I like what you said like a little while ago, Gibbs. I at first I was going to like give you some pushback, but you kind of rescued it because it's not simply lonely men, right? You were saying that at first, but then you adjusted your statement. Like I think conditions of abuse simply have to deal with anytime there is a person who is disadvantaged, right? Who's who relies on other people without accountability, right? And this disadvantage can look like a lot of things. Now, oftentimes it's children, right? Children are a good one, right? It can be maybe a person who's elderly, right? We've seen elderly abuse, right? It could be because you're in a hospital, right? You're in a hospital, you're under care of nurses or something, whatever, right? Like we've seen hospital abuse. We've seen I mean, you have
Executor abuse, where they do the same thing to old people, and they become their power of attorney. Same exact thing.
Yeah, yeah. It could be employer-employee, right? Because you just have a level of power of this other person, right? And there's no accountability. There's no one watching you, right? That you have to deal with, right? Once you have that ability, abuse is going to happen. Wait long enough, right? Just like was it Godwin's law, right? Eventually, like people are going to bring up Hitler, right? Like eventually, someone's going to get abused. When you have the situation of unaccountability with disadvantaged individuals. So, like 100%, I agree with you there. Your pushback against to me was about like the Catholic Church and saying,
Yeah, I think it just bring. I think it bring. Yeah, anytime you have a situation, it's gonna bring people of that character to it. No matter if it's religious, whether it's like just like kind of like the elder thing. Like I don't think there's a way to avoid this unless you have like some sort of like guardrails. I don't really know what those look like.
Yeah. I would okay. I think it's a fair pushback against my attacks of the Catholic Church. It's just that literally fucking centuries of seemingly centuries of this, right? I don't know if there's any organization. I was going to say it's a pedophile organization, would be the Catholic Church. If they've been doing it for centuries, if anyone gets that jacket, it's going to be the Catholic Church. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I guess even in that though, right? Like it's because like, it goes back to, is it because it's the Catholic Church, or is it because like it's this powerful organization with no oversight? Yeah, I mean, but every powerful organization in like the Middle Ages is probably going to be equally as bad, just to scale, right? Like I don't know,
friend, but I don't know if there's a bigger pedophile ring like in the history of humanity. Honestly, like bigger, like an organization that's continued, right? The Catholic Church is an incredible organization that's continued for like a millennia, right? Multiple millennia. I don't know if there's a bigger a pedophile ring like on the planet in the human history. So like if anyone's gonna get that jacket, it was gonna be the Catholic Church.
Sure.
But like I do I understand what you're saying though, and I think there's a lot of merit to that. I want and in terms of like it has to be accountability. You have to like have like whoever these people are, right? They're like youth leaders. They need to be somehow accountable, right? People need to be checking with them. People who have like conflicting interests, right? Because like not that like maybe have a different reporting structure. There's a ton of ways you can do these things. It's possible, but we have to explore it. So I want to give Rodell Lactoid, and then I want to try to get Doobie in, and then maybe Bam after that. We'll see. I don't know. All right, let's go to Rodell.
So I'll try to be brief as best I can. And I do think there's a distinction between like religious organizations and like community groups. It's hard to really tell a religious institution that has been here for a long time and has like religion as its backing, with like moral values that are supposed to be good, to get rid of something like that. It's just like, I don't know how we do that unless, aliens appear, then maybe. So when it comes down to it, I don't see religious institutions ever going away, but I do think with someone like a Pope Leo, hopefully, he does make drastic changes to the Catholic Church, more kind of progressive ideas, not progressive politically, but progressive in terms of thinking forward, in terms of how humanity is progressing, and changing the organization is probably the best way to kind of go about these like religious institutions, but they're hard to deal with in general. So I do think that's a different conversation. As for like the Boy Scout stuff, I mean, they're an organization that obviously had a really huge thing regarding the pedophilia and the sexual abuse and stuff like that. And although I understand the concept of like, why can't you just like get rid of the bad people and then change, but I do think it's problematic with like the cover up and like the thousands of boys that were a part of the scheme that are still currently getting litigated. So I do think the best course scenario is not necessarily get rid of the Boy Scouts, because I think there's value in teaching them some of the lessons that you teach in Scouts. I'm fine with them, what they did, rebranded, created a different organization, became much more progressive, because even before like the pedophilia stuff started really hammering them, they were decreasing in membership. That was something that was happening. Of course, there was like a big thing regarding like, should girls join the organization, regarding gay boys and all that stuff. So they've changed quite a bit, becoming a little bit more progressive. And I do think one of the things that they should note regarding the people and the members is like, the people obviously need proper training in terms of like, hey, we got to make sure you're qualified to be around kids and not a weirdo. And kids need to really know how to deal with like discussing situations like this. And that's just a reality of the situation. Kind of like for me, at the very least, maybe this is the same for Bam and Prime Kai. Like, I was definitely taught that I'm a brown individual, black individual, and I know how to act when I'm around certain people, certain neighborhoods, and cops. I was taught that very young. That's probably a good lesson to learn. So these are probably things like when you're around an adult and they're starting acting a little weird, you probably should say something. Maybe they have some device to notify the authorities quickly. There's probably things you could put in there, but I do think the Boy Scouts, the original one, they ruined their chance. And now this new version, they can do some good stuff. Who knows?
Prime, could I respond, or is it not my turn? It's okay.
If you want to respond, it's fine.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna respond real quick. Also, something's going on with your audio. I'm sure you know. Here, I don't understand. Like, on the one hand, I do understand what we're talking about when we talk about like the organization of the Boy Scouts, but on the other hand, I genuinely sometimes have no idea what we're talking about. Like, let me just flesh this out. On the one hand, we could have the BSA that completely revamps how it operates and implements a whole bunch of rules, changes a whole bunch of requirements, fires a bunch of people, hires a bunch of people. And then on the other hand, we have a completely new organization that is has the same rules like implements these changes, creates all of these policies. Who do you think they're going to be hiring if not ex Boy Scout members? I don't see a difference between the two scenarios. I
That's why
genuinely
the group
don't.
shouldn't exist anymore.
No. But you're advocating for a second group.
No, I'm advocating for that group, or at least it operating in the way that it's been operating, completely be dismantled.
No one is saying that
you want to have
group should
groups.
be
You want to have
operating in the
groups.
same
You can
way.
have them in community centers in public. No more of this camping bullshit. No more. Like
That's fine.
you would have to completely change the group. It wouldn't be the
So if
same
you-
group anymore.
Cool. If you fundamentally change the group but keep the name, that's fine, right?
I mean, no, because the name itself is tainted.
I
Anytime
don't
you
get
look up
it.
Boy
I don't
Scouts of
get it.
America, the name comes up as tainted. So when you're
Okay,
sending your
I
kids
don't
to the
get
Boy
it.
Scouts of
Yeah,
America,
that
you're
shit
sending them
cooks,
to
bro.
the diddle group. That's just what it is, man. I'm
Okay.
sorry. But like the BSA has been tainted by the fact that they had a bunch of people diddling these kids, doing this fucked up shit, and now the name is tainted. So people don't want to associate with that name
Okay.
anymore. Like, I
All
mean,
I'll
that's
say is-
obvious.
The
all I'll
name
say
and the
is
history,
this is such a way to make absolutely no change, but just invoke
Wait,
like
How is it making no change?
because I established that there's that we could either fundamentally change them or create a group that's
Do
fundamentally
both.
different.
Why not do
well,
both?
Why
I'm,
not?
hey,
You-
Hunter,
Ollie,
I'm
you're
willing
not
to be,
consistent.
Hunter, I'm
What?
willing to be, because this is not something my expertise. I researched this shit 2 hours ago.
No.
But from hold on.
Go ahead,
This is my
sorry.
question to you.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to like the video I saw, when they're referencing the Scouting of America, they're very different in terms of like adding girls and allowing gay people in there. That's not the
Yes.
same thing. This is not the
100%.
same.
That's
That's
probably
exactly what I'm
worse.
saying,
That's probably
100%.
worse, actually.
Don't listen to Ali.
You can-
I 100% agree with you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the group that had a history of child misconduct now adds women or adds girls.
Well, it's a
and gay
different
people to their group.
organization.
Yes,
that's
it's-
the that's the
exactly.
claim. It's a different.
Well,
Yeah.
no,
organization.
to Hunter's point, it's not a different organization. It's an
That's not my point.
organization with a different name that they're going to hire the same people that were in the original organization.
Well, I don't know if
Because
they're
that was your
hiring the same
question,
people.
right,
I have no
Hunter?
idea.
Who do you
No,
think
my
they're going to
point-
hire other than
Ali,
old Boy Scouts?
You're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying it is a distinction without a difference. It's a distinction without a difference to create a new
Mhm.
organization or fundamentally change the first one.
Wait, why? Can't
Whether
you-
or not the Boy Scouts exist is a distinction without a difference. It does not matter. It should be a moot point. That's what I'm arguing.
fair. So then, like,
We should change it, obviously, but we're
Mhm.
so obsessed with like, well, the
No, I don't
organization
think-
should
wait.
crumble, but it's just gonna reassemble into
Right,
a
yeah, and that's why I
complete-
said you'd have to completely change how the organization operates if you're
That's
going to
what I'm
continue to have said organization.
everyone's saying that. Everyone's saying that. the
What about just
organization
not
is
having that
gonna change
organization at
the-
all anymore? Nobody gets.
Well,
to
that's
that.
that's originally what I
I
was saying. He's saying that you're
I don't
gonna
know. No more
you're
scouting.
always
If I
going to
name
have that
unclear,
organization
I
exist.
don't-
That type of organization is always going to exist regardless of what the name is, right? You're always going to have some type of boys club within this country.
I don't
like,
think I'm
the-
being
the-
understood
like,
at all.
yeah.
So I'll just pivot it somewhere else. Okay, yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't see why you're not more okay with removing yourself from the history and the name, because that's like the biggest.
Because
issue
to
that's
me,
going on
it's
right now.
it's an impotent point. It's an aesthetic choice. It doesn't actually do anything to fix any problems or help the victims. All you're doing is just changing the name on the label. Like, I don't fucking care about the label. I want kids to stop being abused.
Well, the
And
company
when
wants
we
to stay
focus
alive.
so much. We focus on so much. Oh, the Boy Scouts of America need to crumble. It's like, okay, how about some systemic changes so we just stop having whatever. I can't think of any particular systemic changes, but I'm sure we could come up with some. And then the Boy Scouts are privy to them, and then the kids stop getting abused. I don't get the aesthetic changes. It feels like
I don't know.
feels
You
like
got
the
children in the
dumbest
woods.
part- What?
I think it's probably just children in the woods. They take children out to
Sure,
the woods
cool,
overnight.
cool. As long as we
Sometimes
implement
something's gonna
the
happen.
and
Trips to the public
honestly,
mall
to
for the Boy
me,
Scouts.
that was the coolest part of Boy Scouts is when you win. Hey, you're gonna go
I'm
out
sure
to
it
the
was.
fucking woods, and all you get is a tarp, and all you get is you have to radio someone, and you have to figure that shit out. It was so cool. It was so whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just
No
saying.
one's out here.
Yeah.
I'm
So-
thinking.
so
before,
wait.
too. Again, it's a cool experience, but
No.
it's a
I
vulnerable
understand.
situation.
So,
I
Hunter-
understand that if the risks aren't worth it, then we
Yeah.
gotta shut it down.
So
I
Hunter,
agree. I
Hunter,
understand
Hunter,
that.
you're annoyed with the fact that
I'm
people
not
are like
against it.
kind of focused on like dismantling the Boy Scouts of America, right? Like you're like, ooh, it doesn't matter if the organization exists, the systemic issue is the problem. That's kind of what you're saying.
Yes,
That the
that
focus
is
on the
what
Boy
I'm
Scouts of
saying.
America,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But like, I mean, the issue is this group did this thing.
I don't know what
And
that
I'm-
means. Like, I
There was a
genuinely
group?
don't know what that means. Yeah, when you say this group, it's
the Boy Scouts of
comprised
America had this
individuals.
problem. Yes.
comprised of individuals making
But the
these
name is
decisions.
tarnished, right? Like for going
Sure.
forward for that group wanting to operate, the name is tarnished. So like them changing their name. But when
then if
people
the
are saying they want to
company goes
dismantle
down,
the
then those
boys, when
individuals
people
go
when
somewhere.
people are saying they want to destroy the group, they're saying they want to destroy the action. It's just this is the group that they can name that did the action. So yes, they want to destroy that
I
group
agree
and
that's
that
what
action.
people are trying to do, but they're doing it in the most dumb way possible. That's all I'm saying.
By
They're, like,
attacking the group that did the thing.
by attacking the aesthetics, by
Well,
attacking the
group
top
name is the
layer.
aesthetics now.
Yes, it's just.
I mean, did we have the names of like all? Do we know the names of all the perpetrators, or can there be people within this organization that we don't know?
I'm sure that there could be people inside those groups.
So then, like, it makes sense to attack the organization's name versus individuals'
Do you think that those
names,
people
right?
could maybe just move to a different organization, especially if the Boy Scouts starts crumbling? They could just move to the other organization and start
Well,
fucking
they
down
could,
them
which is
too?
why me and Gibbs are like, oh, well, I mean, probably like these organizations don't operate
probably won't
correctly
take kids
and
no
in the
more.
way that we
That's
want them to. And they probably
my
can't operate,
point.
and they probably can't operate in the way that we would want them to operate, right? They're probably not going to logistically be able to do that. So, like, these groups
So-
shouldn't exist at that rate,
Yeah.
right?
So what's the point here?
You
Yeah.
keep,
that-
you keep pivoting into new. Like I'm saying, hold on, and it's an aesthetic choice. Why don't we just talk about the substance? And you're like, no, it's not about the aesthetic choice. I'm like, yeah, it is. And then I try to buckle you down.
No,
on it, and
because
you
the
just pivot.
substance
Listen,
is.
you just pivot to the
Yeah,
substance.
I don't
that
think
people
I
are
wanna
attacking the
talk
group.
about.
You're just mad that people are attacking the group while
No,
while
I
also
don't-
attacking the substance. It's just you. Just
Yeah,
don't
I
like
mean,
that people are-
I was-
Well, wait,
I-
Hunter.
Yeah.
So you think? I agree that I think what you're trying to say is like there's still an issue because of like the organization potentially could obviously still relate to the other organization. It could have the same structural issues. It could have the same people. Like I understand that concept if that happens. I have no idea if they're hiring the same people. I have no idea if they haven't changed certain structural issues. The one thing I
Sure.
can say, and I'm curious on what you think about this,
Yeah, yeah.
because I do think you agree that girls joining Boy Scouts is a big deal, right?
Yes, yeah, that was crazy.
So
and that's
Isn't it
actually
no
that's
longer?
a
Isn't it
huge
just scouts now and not Boy Scouts?
yeah, and that's why the
yeah,
Mormon
now
Church
it's just scouts. So
disassembled from it because they believe so much in gender roles. They're like, we don't.
considering they made such a huge progressive change, you don't think they'll
Mhm.
make more progressive changes
Of course,
following all the issues from Boy Scouts?
absolutely.
I don't think that. I think that, but the thing that
So-
Ollie and I are saying is that doesn't really
I
address
don't
the
think
root
they
problem.
will. That's-
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
no, I think we're
I
all
so
saying
I
so
have
I
no
think
idea
what
if they will.
I think what Ollie and I are saying though is that like in this situation, there seems to be this condition across like all sorts of metrics, whether it's religious, whether it's like political, but certain conditions like enable certain like a certain type of person to go in there and abuse it, right?
I
And so-
agree.
okay,
And
I know
think
you do. Hold on. Let me
Go
just
ahead, sorry.
here's my thing though, right? And I
Go
guess what Ollie and I are advocating is like, okay, we either get rid of this organization, period, and I don't just mean the organization, but this type of organization. Like maybe we have no more like scout like in general of any type. Like there's no like, hey, Johnny Woodsman organization, I guess, or whatever
Cool.
either.
Then argue for
Or
that.
that's what we're trying to do
Go
here.
ahead.
Or
One second.
you would have to have some sort of extreme oversight by an outside party that would come and look at this because like it seems like it can't be trusted to be done internally. And like
Cool. I agree with
actually
you.
don't
I
think
agree
they
with
will.
you.
Is that kinda what you're
Neither
saying,
of
Ollie?
those situations are just banning the Boy
I'm-
Scouts from existing.
think
It's not
ban
just
is
crumbling.
the first one was
institutions.
banning them from existing.
No,
It'd be
it's
banning.
not.
That
No.
first one
It's
kinda
crumbling
was.
all of
The
them.
first one literally was that. It was banning
No,
all
it's crumbling
organizations
all
like
of
that.
them. It's crumbling all of the institutions that do this.
Right. That was my
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So
That's
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
this is the
I mean,
institution
I
or
guess-
organization that we're talking about
Yeah,
specifically
I don't
right
think
now.
they-
Like,
yeah. I don't know.
I
It's the
feel
biggest
like I've
one.
been making my point.
Yeah,
I-
it's the
I-
lead
I
one
think
for
that
yeah.
honestly-
I don't know. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ben.
I hadn't said anything in a while because I don't care that
Yeah.
much about this. But my strongest opinion is honestly, you probably just need like 3 to 4 scouts at a time. You probably just shouldn't be one. Like we shouldn't trust Scout Master.
no, they
one
should be
guy.
just operating in
Look,
public
If-
areas,
and that
man.
doesn't
Confused
prove
about that,
anything.
'cause I
They can
was
do it as a
Operate in
team.
community centers or don't operate.
Sure.
Make it that easy. Community centers are fully public. There's a bunch of people around,
I think,
parents
like,
and everything.
I'm cool.
The
with
wood
that.
stuff part.
So I'm
of it
like
is
a park ranger
I do
doing.
think they'll eventually do a camping trip. But we probably just should be more than one person. You probably like at least if you can't find like 3 people, you don't do it.
Yeah, but that's
And sure, those
what's-
three
Or they
Like,
assign
like,
doing
just
the
in
national
like,
park where a park ranger is assigned overnight with
Sure,
them or
sure,
something.
sure.
They
But that's
apply
how I
for
grew
it.
up. That's where I'm confused. Is like,
Like,
where
Oh,
is
the
this
park
happening?
ranger could be doing it too.
And you can have like all the
Huh?
parents have
I
like,
agree,
come
it's
Where
to
do
the
they?
field
Where do you go
trips.
camping? On any camping site. Well,
Wait,
no,
hold on.
it defeats the
Let
purpose.
me
All
say
the
this. Let me
parents-
say this.
Every parent's not gonna want to go do it.
What I want to say is I am confused.
You don't
by
get to go
this.
though.
I am confused by this because I grew up where obviously you're going to have like 3 or 4 adults there and you're going to have like 10 to 12 kids. And I was always confused. It's like, wait, how could abuse be happening? And obviously abuse is happening nonetheless. So I clearly don't have a good understanding of like how to fix these issues. So I think when we have these just like, oh, well, let's just have multiple
Well, I
adults
think
out
you're-
there.
Maybe you hire a game warden every time they go
You can't
camping.
open
They have to
the
bring a game
door.
warden with them.
I know there's
You
some
know,
good,
I'm not-
there's
I'm
some
not
good
saying
ideas.
things
I'm
didn't
just saying
happen.
there's
I
Go
think
ahead.
you came up in the process of them trying to like sort through things. Like that
No.
doesn't mean obviously things still happen, but
No.
like there
I'm
was
30 years old.
But
I
I'm saying
grew
that
up-
there was a big portion of. I'm 32. You think that you were in the peak? No, I'm about to say
No,
the
it was
sexual abuse
before
was
the
happening
peak.
way before you.
I was before the peak.
No, the peak wasn't 2000. The peak
No.
was probably in the 70s.
Stop. Not the peak of
I guess you're
abuse,
talking about this case
the
might
peak of
be
the
now.
blowback. No, the peak of the blowback. Because
Oh,
you
the
were
peak of
saying
the
we were
blowback. Yeah, that's I'm talking about a different thing.
no.
I'm talking about the
We're
abuse.
talking about the same thing because you're saying, well, sure, they're trying to do some PR stunts right here, but no, they don't care about the PR when I was a kid because they didn't have a lot of blowback. So I'm just saying this is complicated and I don't know how to
I
fix
think it was a common thing.
I agree.
No, I'm saying that,
I
like, when you-
agree. Why am I being so
All
misunderstood
right, I'm just
so
gonna finish my
easily?
sentence then.
You're just not
I
speaking
don't
clearly,
know, I don't
Hunter.
know
I
why
feel like you're
true.
disagreeing on, like,
Clearly.
You're not smoking.
I feel like
You're
you,
fine.
you,
I'm
you agree with the
saying
broader
that
point, but
I'm
you're disagreeing on
literally-
like minute things, and then that's where we're getting hung up.
I don't know. You're very passionate about this group because you're a member of it, and that's fine. But I'm just
No,
saying
I don't
that,
think
like, you're saying that, like, oh, when I grew,
No, he said he wasn't hugely invested.
Yeah, correct.
You grew up.
I
in a
Thank you,
remember.
time-
Corey.
You're wrong.
Yes, everyone says that. That doesn't make it not true. It doesn't
Fine.
make it's true because
I'm not. I wouldn't call him a liar.
'Cause he wouldn't have this
That way. I
conversation.
think he's being.
I am. I'm just
Okay,
saying
okay,
that,
all right.
like, the
As long as you're being honest about
concept
that.
of- I'm just gonna
Damn.
finish my sentence. Stop talking. There's like there may be like sure you may have came up at a time where there were 3 or 4 people, but again, I know people from the 80s, 70s. There was one guy who went out with the boys.
Totally.
That was a very common occurrence.
For sure.
So don't say that what you did was the norm. You came through after the change.
No. You're misunderstanding my point again. All I'm saying is that
You said you didn't know how it could
just
happen.
shut the fuck up and listen real quick.
No, you
Just-
were doing that to me, so I'm doing it to you. It doesn't
Okay.
feel good.
Okay, just look. All I'm saying is there was abuse that happened around me. And yet there were
Sure.
like 4 or 5 adults. So clearly that's not the issue. Clearly that's not the answer. That doesn't just solve everything here.
It doesn't solve anything, but it's better than the one guy going out.
Maybe it's better.
1000%.
I'm just saying when we have these easy answers like, oh, well, let's just have more adults. Sometimes the abuse is a little bit more
not the answer.
complicated than that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
I mean,
saying. That's it.
It's called. You're still.
No,
mitigating
then there's no
the
answer to
problem.
everything.
I'm not mitigating
Then-
anything.
everything's
Of course,
always
we
more
should still be
complicated than
doing
anything.
that.
I didn't. No. I'm saying with
2 + 2 is 4
solutions
is a
that they're
simple answer, but it's
advocating
more
for, they're
complicated
trying to
than that.
mitigate the problem. That's what I said. Not you mitigating the problem. Because like the idea, like if you propose something like every kid, the only way you can go out to camp, every kid has to come with their parent. If you can't, then you can't.
And it's
It's
not
not. Before you disagree with the solution, the only reason why the solution is being proposed is to mitigate the issue. There's foolproof plans, foolproof
fair.
solutions don't exist.
That's fair for sure.
Well, abstinence of those things, right? If no one goes camping,
Well, I think everyone's in favor of.
Well,
No one
there you
is visited
go.
by the
That's a
scout
foolproof
leader,
plan.
right?
That's a foolproof plan right there. Nobody goes.
But I mean, yeah, if the parents
But
going,
we
then
just-
well, what's the point of this? I mean, unless the parents are inept, but you can take your
I
kids camping
abuse
on your
happens
own.
in school. Does every teacher have to come to school?
It's a group
provide
activity. They have the
students in class?
resources. Yeah, it's like a field trip.
So I want to. Okay, so I feel like we've done this part. Okay, Doobie, first I want to hear your thoughts. Right, where you're at with this. You were saying that we should get rid of statute of limitations altogether. Oh, and just our friend Lactwood had to step out. Shit came up. So hopefully everything's okay for our friend. Yeah, so you said you wanted to get rid of statute of limitations altogether. But what our friend Lacto was saying, what I was saying too, is that like that puts us in a bind. Like at some point, like how do you put up a credible defense, against this? Like what would that look like in a world where we simply got rid of the statute of limitations altogether for sexual assault?
I think that so what I said is that we should get rid of the statute of limitations, but also
Just being
require like evidence, right? More evidence than somebody saying they remember something happened and they told a friend at some point. I think that if someone has strong evidence, even like 15 years later, 20 years later, I don't think there's a good reason that shouldn't be brought forward. Now, obviously, if the evidence isn't strong and bringing it forward 15 years later, I mean, obviously that should be taken into account, right? That they are claiming this thing is unfalsifiable because we can't prove anything either way. And, I think those kind of cases should be not thrown out like on their face, but there needs to be a standard of evidence like required for considering them seriously. And I think we can find a balance there
For
without
criminal or civil
throwing them all out.
case?
I'm saying criminal.
For criminal case, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a real like most. I don't want to say most, but it's the norm for kids not to come forward till they're adults. So I think that having a statute of limitations, though that we currently do, it really just benefits predators. I don't think there's a good reason to have it.
Do you mean like statute of limitations in entirety, or like around like child crimes?
I would say around everything. But right now we're talking specifically about like the child crimes. But even like
towards that as well.
Yeah, I would say like everything. If you can prove 10 years later that someone stole your car 10 years ago, and you have strong evidence for this, and you can prove, you can convince the jury. Like I don't think there's any reason you shouldn't bring that forward.
I will say that there's more complicated situations to this because you're kind of poisoning the well, or maybe not poisoning the well. You're kind of you're saying if you have strong evidence, but obviously that you're required to have lighter evidence if it happened more recently, right? Do you agree that there should probably be a little bit of like you're required to have stronger evidence the further back in time it goes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If that's feasible, I think I proposed that.
But you're saying if like my bad, go ahead, Corey.
That's what I pretty much saying the same thing of like it scales with time, as in like yes, you can come accuse someone 20 years down the line, but then that proportionally increases the burden of proof,
right?
If you can actually scale it that way. Because like even although I'll let I guess Lactoid's not here to defend himself, but he seemed to recognize that not having a statute of limitations on murder probably a good thing. And I think there are probably reasons for that. Although he was amenable to having a statute of limitations on murder.
Right.
But like it does seem to be inconsistent, as in like the people like Hunter who are in favor of statute of limitations, like does that mean that you also want them across the board? As in you want to advocate for a statute of limitations on murder, or you're amenable to having that open?
I'm certainly amenable, and I would honestly say that as long as there's a scalar, the stronger your evidence, the more it goes. But I would say that, like I said, sexual assault is unfortunately really light on evidence. It tends to be. So it would probably be the case that statute of limitations it would be shorter, it wouldn't scale as much back into time. It would terminate probably quicker than other crimes would. And that's really unfortunate. And I wish that there was, I don't know if I have a better answer, because it like that's the reality
Right.
that's really hard to tackle when it comes to sexual assault crimes is
Mhm,
they
I agree.
are some of the most brutal, horrible crimes and the hardest to anyway.
So
Like,
I
does
wanted
that sound reasonable to you? What I said?
does it also have to? Well, that might, maybe that's reasonable. But like I guess what I want to ask is like when we have these crimes, like we've been saying, right, what we've been trying to get to, is that like there's usually very little evidence to begin with, right, with sexual assault. It's usually he said, she said, or he said, or whatever the fuck, right? And like so oftentimes, like we've seen the stats, right, where it's like so few people actually get convicted, right? It's like, well, one, women or victims in general, right, don't show up and make their case, and then so few of them actually make it to trial, and then even fewer of them actually result in a conviction. Like, should we have? And people look at this as like a big issue, right? Like it's always presented, at least in left circles, right, as like a big issue. That like, well, this shows how the justice system fails us. But like, well, if there's only so much evidence, if it's only, he said, she said at the time, like, should there be like, shouldn't there be require more evidence? Like, should the testimony of a victim in itself be enough, right? Because sometimes, as my understanding, it is, right? Sometimes like you can convict a person on that, and it's just like they made a convincing, like, the testimony, like they got in the stand, they gave a convincing story. But then should that be enough to take a person's freedom away, or at the very least brand them a rapist? And yeah, well, I'll start with there. I have more questions about this, but yeah, what do you guys think about that?
If the question is, should just the victim testimony be enough for a conviction? Yeah, I don't know that I have a good answer for that, to be perfectly honest.
For a conviction for a criminal case?
As in, generally, I err on like the side of the victim, as in, but I do know that false accusations occur, although those are rare. But in general, I would believe an accusation.
Sure. And I also the reality that I have is that I tend to just believe the jury. That like in criminal cases, when you need a unanimous verdict, if all of them are saying that, yeah, he's guilty, it seems like that testimony is probably pretty damn strong. And like,
so you're saying just a testimony alone should be enough, right? Like the jury believed it.
It could. I'm saying it could be enough if, well, like we're using a weird. I don't know if it's the case that a testimony has only been enough to sway a jury. But if that were the case, I would love to hear that testimony. And yeah, maybe I'd be convinced by it too. Maybe it is like, maybe it's not just her testimony, but it's also the testimony of people around her about her morals. What's the term for that? Lactoid would have the answer, but there's like
character.
Character. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's character witnesses for him, against him, and for her. And she's
but those people weren't there. Like,
no, I agree. That's why I'm saying it's
make,
just one testimony. I'm accepting your premise that there's only one testimony and that's all the evidence that we have.
Well, the premise, especially in relation to what Doobie said earlier, is it would need more proof. Sounds like that standard's not being met.
With
if
me,
we're just using the testimony.
Well, it would
no.
It did happen almost immediately.
But he's talking about like no statute of limitations, so this would be like 20 years later or something like that.
Yeah, I would certainly say that one testimony would not be enough to convince really anyone 20 years down the line. I don't think that would ever convince 12 people.
Yeah, I think it's not enough.
Personally. But I don't know. Sometimes people surprise me.
And okay, if the biggest thing here though is like in situations, because my standard is very, I think people understand, and when it comes to children, no limits, because children are the biggest victims. But if we're like broadening the scope in reference to any crime, I mean, wouldn't the likelihood of them finding new evidence, I'm very unsure about. And then, of course, we have all the other factors that we elicited before in terms of like time, memory, and potential like false statements made about said crime, not necessarily pointing at one in particular. So at that point, wouldn't it just become burdensome on the court system of like all these different crimes, even if they had happened years ago? Wouldn't that be problematic?
Yeah, I would go back to my original argument that I was sort of hashing out with, of like yes, your ability to mount a defense degrades over time, but then I think your ability to mount an accusation also degrades over time. Like to me, it's symmetrical.
Yeah,
which I agree. So at that point, it would probably be better if you have that statute to ensure that these kind of like type of cases are not wasting everybody's time at that point.
Well, not like that. So that's where I guess the point of disagreement is like, as in since it's symmetrical, but if there's still enough evidence to potentially get a conviction, as in pretty much, I would never want any crime just to not have a conviction just due to the passage of time, especially if there's still some evidence there. As in, like, I don't think you're, but again, if Lactoid were here, you might be able to argue better or make the argue against my point better. But like, I don't think your ability to mount a defense just like disappears asymmetrically or like goes down disproportionately for someone to accuse you or to get a conviction. As in, like, in my mind, the scales are more or less like always equal. So if the crime still occurred and it's just 20 years down the line, but there's still evidence there, then you should still have the ability to defend yourself against, if in fact you are innocent.
Is the possibility of exceptional circumstances or like extreme crimes worthwhile to expand the statute of limitations? I think that's fair to say. Like, there could be those situations, but I do think the important part when it comes down to conversations here is precedent and norms that you're trying to set. And do you want to establish a norm where any crime could be a situation of like, hey, I can, either sue or make you, and criminals worse because obviously it's a higher burden, as well as the person can get punished, damages for the person in itself. So in that situation, if we're setting a norm where at any point of your time, 20, 30 years down the line, wouldn't that be a bad norm to set? Because I'm not setting on like a very strict limit of the statute because there's exceptional cases.
Sure. I would maybe ask the question of like, what is your if you were able to articulate as best as you can, what is your concern or primary concern with not having any sort of statute of limitations?
Well, I kind of elicited the burdensome problem, right? Where it's like a situation where more than likely people are not going to have the evidence, the memory, the possibility of just putting out all these different allegations and trying to make a case, whether civil or criminal. It just becomes very burdensome on the system when there's like more matter-of-fact situations you have to handle right in front of you in real time. So like, other than exceptional cases like the E.G. and Carroll situation and like with the Epstein victims and of course children, other than that, I don't think we should set a norm where it's like at any point it's like, and you know what, I feel like fucking this guy stole my PS5. 30 years down the line, I'm gonna sue his ass. I'm like, bro, what are we doing? That's bullshit.
Well, I don't think that's BS, because it sounds like, but correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm misunderstanding your point. It sounds like actually in principle, you're not against getting rid of a statute of limitations. At least you are for them, just because I think how you framed it is like, this is an undue burden on the system. But if there were more resources in the system and there was no bottleneck, it sounds like in principle you would not be against getting rid of statute of limitations.
Yeah, but I think that's an unrealistic standard in terms
Sure.
of having enough resources for all those potential crimes.
But it sounds like in principle, in your ideal world, you would
It's
not
not the
have...
statute of limitations. The problem is it's just resources. It's a matter of resources, right?
Yeah, at least that's how I'm interpreting it.
If we had infinite resources, I just don't think this is plausible in any sense of the word.
Yeah, we got that. We got that part. Yeah.
So like, if infinite resources were like able and we can at any point, then yes, for sure.
Okay, because even you using your example of someone stealing your PS5, 30 years ago, what's your issue with someone suing you that 30 years down, or you suing someone 30 years down the road for that? Why is that a problem? If you can actually prove it meaningfully, as in you have somehow conserved the meaningful and significant evidence of them stealing your PS5 30 years ago, why is that a problem?
I mean, we're just rerouting to my initial argument.
The undue burden on the system.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Doobie, like, I guess, all right, there's two things I'm going to bring up. First, like, with your standards, like, okay, you have to have increased amount of evidence, but like, that doesn't mean that, like, in terms of the accuser, right? But it doesn't mean that the accused has any evidence in defense, right? Is it reasonable? Let's say, like, 30 years go by, and the accuser has to meet like the second level threshold, right? Like past the base level into the next level, right? And then a level above that, Like the accuser has to reach this level, this threshold level. But still, on the other hand, like I have to be able to put up a defense, right, to be able to answer these things, right? Maybe the evidence looks good, right? Oh, they've got video evidence. They got a video evidence of something, right? But maybe if you looked at it from a different angle, right? You're like, what that humping motion looks like for me is like I'm I don't know, dancing or something, right? We're bumping and grinding, and it looks like from that one angle, hey, I'm like, doing something horrible to this person, right? But I don't have that evidence anymore. So like it seems like that we'd still run into that problem that the accuser might have some compelling evidence, but the accused doesn't.
I feel like this is something that already exists, like with like a normal case, because it could be the case that the accuser has evidence, and the accused, if they're like innocent or even if they're not innocent, just didn't think to document whatever was happening at the time in a way that allows them to put up like a strong defense, right, based on the evidence. So I don't know. I feel like this is why we have the jury system, right? It isn't just there's a video and that's it. There's a video, and you need to convince this group of your peers that the video means something. And I feel like we run into that issue today. I don't think it could be all that different.
But it'd be worse because at least today you have more of a chance. I mean, like if it happened last year, right?
Sure.
There was more of a chance to be able to gather that evidence, right? Like, so I don't know. That's my issue, I'm not sure if there's an easy answer. Like, and I said previously, I'm very torn on this issue, and so let me get to the thing that I really wanted to get to that we haven't danced around. All right, we haven't really tackled.
You want to talk about strippers again? That's what you want for the dancing.
As always.
I just got back. Corey, come on, that's not cool.
I'm an
We were waiting for you. We didn't want you to feel left out of the fun conversation.
Yeah. So like my big issue is like I was saying before, we have a system which like does a poor job in getting like sexual predators off the street, right? Only a few of these people who've been victimized just don't even want to deal with the system for a variety of reasons, right? Before the system even gets a chance to like do a thing, people don't want to deal with it because it's that traumatizing, or they have other reasons not to. But then once they get to that system like very rarely takes the case, and then those cases very rarely get a conviction. So it seems like the system we have is like very poorly built for this type of crime. And so something I was presenting to someone else, right? They ended up having a really big problem with this issue, but I'm curious what you guys have to say. Is that maybe just like our criminal system isn't the best path? Like unfortunately, like we said before, there's oftentimes very little evidence, right? Sometimes there's DNA evidence, which is great, but like there's for a variety of reasons, sometimes you don't have any of that stuff. So like, but we still want justice, right? At least I think we could all agree there. We still want some level of recompense. And also, it's something I didn't bring up, is that like one of the reasons why people don't take it to the justice system is that they feel like they don't, while they were wronged, they literally don't want to ruin this other person's life, right? Like honestly, the thing that pops up in our mind when we think of a rapist is some guy jumping out in a bush and like some horrible assault. Those things happen, but like it's most likely to be someone who unfortunately, who does it, right? And like for that reason, people make tough decisions. Like, hey, I was wronged, but like, well, I don't want to put this person in the justice system. I don't necessarily ruin their lives or something. But that doesn't mean I wasn't raped, right? That thing did happen. And so should we like consider like some other sort of system?
What could possibly be the suggestion? Like,
Sorry,
what are some of the ideas?
I think he's getting to that.
I'm about to do it.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm the jackass here.
No worries, friend. Don't worry about it. So like,
and you chastise me, Hunter.
True. I'm sorry, guys.
People talk about like not retributive justice, the other justice. So that's for our
rehabilitative.
Rehabilitative. Thank you. Yes, rehabilitative justice. Right. I was thinking, and other people put this out. Like, it's not my idea. That like we have like some sort of like community court system or something, right? And this court system doesn't have the power to like incarcerate people, but like to get them in a room, like hash it out between like the parties, right? Like I was wronged, and like presenting some level of evidence that this didn't even happen, of course, right? But then like as a community, like saying that, hey, you wronged this individual, like this is a problem, maybe institute some level of like community consequences, right? Not tar and feathering them or something like that, but like some sort of community consequences, and then going from there, right?
How would that differ from like the civil like system we have now? Like what do you?
Well, that's just like
Great
overriding them to
question.
pay.
Yeah, like what do you
That's
mean
just-
by
that's
like
just-
community consequences? Just like so I have like an idea like what your kind of concept you're talking about here.
Sure,
Public
sure, right?
shaming.
Well, I mean that's part of it.
Shame.
I mean, that's actually a big part of it, right? Like shaming, like to be known for a person who's done this, right? Like because most of the times when people do this, they're not like, well, I don't want to say most of the time. Maybe I don't know. Let's not put any sort of stats in here, but there's a portion of people who commit sexual assault who like aren't like committed like predators. They're not out there like, oh, I can't wait to like get my hands on another person, right? Like it's that they didn't really respect the boundary for the other person. They weren't thinking like of the consequences, right? So a whole level of things. But this person is like reachable, right? They're not some like monster, right? So the intervention one is shame, but two, it's like hey, maybe we got to go to some kind of therapy, right? Like some sort of like community mandated therapy. Maybe it's like doing some sort of community service or something, right? Like something.
I think
You put them on a list so
I
that people
think-
can know.
I think what bothers me about
Yeah.
this,
Go ahead.
because I fundamentally disagree with this idea.
Okay.
The first thing that I'm going to say is, it sounds to me very similar to the court system that we already have. Like the idea that we have community service or things like those sort of punishments, those exist very, very, very commonly in the current system that we have. That's like the go-to thing is community service.
But that would be called a criminal case, right? Like
No, it would be.
Yeah, but then we don't have enough evidence for that criminal case, though, right?
Sure, but like there's different layers of guilt. What I would also say is, sorry, I want to say this. This is actually my big point. This reminds me a lot of how social media currently functions, which is we just sort of like throw people and we start screaming at them, and that's court of public opinion, and everyone's sort of
I
checking to
agree.
see whether or not like we think that that's all guilty, and everyone kind of wants that person to be guilty, and like everyone kind of wants to like consistently aggress on that. I don't know. I'm looking at the way social media like takes care of this situation, and I would trust, as flawed as the justice system is, I would take them any day over social media.
I just to like go along with this, like I'm actually not sure. Like maybe you could differentiate it more, Prime. I'd be open to hearing maybe like maybe I'm not really understanding some of the other like outcomes. That's the difference. But I agree with kind of what you're saying there, Hunter, on the back end. And I want to add one more issue to that is that like okay, what happens if you have two people who define things like super differently, right? Like we're seeing that right now with all the drama stuff, right? Like today, I was watching a thing and it was like, oh, you said this guy's full name, right? And that was doxing. And I was like, okay, is that doxing? Because my full name's out there, right? Like if you just go out there and look, like I've been on like Tippool, they said my full name. I was at the Destiny, they said my full name. Like like neither one of those in my mind were like doxing. Like you have your full name out there, right, Hunter? Now obviously your situation is a little bit different, but like
is my full name out there? I don't know.
I guess I don't know if that's your full name. I'm assuming, but like some of these people are like, oh, but then other people are like, oh, this is doxing if you put someone's full name out there, even if it's already in the ether. And other people are like, no, it's not. And so like it's like kind of in this weird situation. Like you're gonna have like groups that just with different moral systems, like in the area, if it's a community court, because I'm assuming they'll be based on region, are gonna come to like vastly different like conclusions. Like I don't know how you would determine. So I don't know. Maybe
You're leaving it to the town idiots to come up with
I don't know. Yeah, maybe you can
interpretation of,
leverage it more, Prime. I don't
what's
know.
going on.
We can get a random person, like a peer, and then we send them a letter in the mail, and we say, you have to come up
but then we check to make sure there's not like crazies in the audience, that they're normal.
And then you do
people.
that like 12 other
We
times.
do that 12 times, and then we have.
Yo,
Okay, all right, let me-
that's a revolution.
I'm gonna walk away, but I can hear you,
I
so.
do have something.
Someone write
I do
that
have
down.
something. So
Okay.
my biggest issue when it comes down to what you're proposing is not necessarily the community aspect. I don't actually have a strong opinion on that as of right now. The biggest issue when it comes down to is like the evidence. Is like, can you confirm whether or not this person is telling the truth? Because if they're shaming a guy who actually did nothing, or shaming a girl who actually did nothing, then regardless of what punishment you give, regardless of what everybody thinks, an innocent person is getting shamed. So I'm trying to think of like the best way to go about it, because I do think there are issues with like whether it's fear or whether you're just gonna ruin someone's life. Well, if they don't want to go out there, that's kind of a little bit more difficult. I can't really solve if you don't want to speak up. I'm sorry, I can't. But in regards to the person, I was trying to think of clever ways. So this is what I came up with. There's a lot of interesting technology out there. Now, obviously, you have something like a rape kit, which is something you can kind of confirm things. But in situations where maybe you can't confirm something with a rape kit, I do think there's interesting things in regards to like the fear response. So what I mean by this is like there's interesting technology out there, whether it's someone like wearing a watch, or just like if it's possible to kind of isolate certain times of like their brain activity or their heart rate to determine fear as a means of a specific situation, to kind of insinuate, at the very least, add to circumstantial evidence that something traumatic happened in this event. Now, if we start going into like those biological, especially and mechanical with like GPS, like you were at this place, you were at their house, you're at this time of day, what happened? Was it a fearful event? Maybe we can confirm that if we use this technology.
Dude,
that's like the only way I can go. Like
we have
other
that
than
technology.
he say, she say.
It's called.
I know we have the technology, but
and they're banned in courts because they're super
it?
unreliable.
But
I know, that's like.
But like
that's
what you
the
brought
thing,
up is
that's
like
the biggest
having like wearing a smartwatch and like saying, well, at this time they were wearing their smartwatch, like the victim maybe wearing their smartwatch, and then you had like an elevated heart rate. Well, I mean, like the problem is like you said it was circumstantial. That's fair, right? But like you could, the circumstance could just be, hey, we're having consensual sex, and your like heart rate elevates because you're having consensual sex.
I did
right?
confirm there's difference between like sexual activity and fear. Like the heart patterns are different. Fear is a very unique trait, and your brain and your heart's gonna.
Do we trust an Apple Watch to be the thing to measure that?
I don't know if like what biometric.
It depends.
Yeah, that's even worse right there. I think probably hitting the nail on the head there. But
well, I'm just trying to add like other aspects of trying to track like
I hear
what
you.
has happened to them.
More
throughout
circumstantial
time.
evidence.
Because other than he say, she say, there's no other way, and then a rape kit, there's no other way to kind of confirm.
So let me
like
ask this the other way around. Let's try this question like the complete other way. Are we okay with like rape convictions being as low as they are? Right? It's not that they're low because there's not that many rape or like sexual assaults that happen. Right? There's a ton that happen. But like. It's just that after going through the filter that I described twice already, right? We have a very low rate of convictions. Are we okay with that? Is that because of all the other barriers, right? Because of lack of evidence or whatever, right? Like, do we think like, yeah, it sucks, but like this is just the way it's going to be. This is like the best we can do.
I'm personally not okay with it, but I don't actually know this. I'm not opposed to your solution. I would just ask the question, and I'm not like trying to poke holes and saying it's like a bad idea, because in principle, I'm in favor of it. But like, what do you do when someone just refuses to participate, right? As in, like, there's no force involved. You'd have to force two people into a room to hash it out.
That's when you get the community security guards to get them out of their house and bring them.
And they have special badges with
the community
officer
holding area.
Yeah, like again, like I don't pretend I have some built out.
Yeah, no, but like I don't think yours is a bad idea. Like if it could,
we've had
work
this
and
discussion.
a community is amenable to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like, so guys, like, what is this okay? Like, is the status quo okay? Right? Is it like not that like you guys like think it's good, but like, do you think it's the best that can be done? That's the question.
No, I think that what we can do is increase social awareness and conversation about this, and allow people to come forward, and really that's all that we can do. I don't know if no, I'm sure that we could point to small issues.
No, body
even
cams
small
for
issues.
everybody.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's
oh,
I think it's
sure.
tech. I think tech is the answer, right? I think that what was it, your name?
Body
Ronaldo-
cams for
Ronaldo- like,
everybody.
I don't know about that, but I think he is onto something with the watch thing, though. It's like if we have everything's plugged in, and we can have like an AI or whatever, and it goes and tracks all the CC footage from that area, and there's the watch data, and there's like 50 other circumstantial evidence things. Okay, maybe we can start like maybe
50
assigning.
other evidence.
Like I mean, if you get like 50
Well, all of it is
circumstantial.
circumstantial.
Yeah, right. It's all circumstantial. Maybe we can't like convict like of a criminal, but I think that's going to start adding to like more of the civil convictions. That's going to lead to restitution for people. Maybe at that point we could extend the like statute of limitations further or eliminate it because like or anything past this point of I guess I don't know with the singularity or something. I don't know where we have these things so they're able to track all these different things and access the data and confirm it's not fake or confirm like other stuff. Maybe we start at like extending statutes for like stuff on like civil cases.
I mean,
don't
there
know.
are
I
solutions.
do-
It's just going to be. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I don't know because
I do think. I mean, if I
really
really wanted to go for it, I'm sure I can really come down to like a technological thesis on how this is plausible. But like my preference is not that because there's a lot of like concerns and unreliability, obviously. So I actually agree with Hunter. You have to establish like a social norm and social like stigma in one, making it very okay to confess like what has happened to you. Two, men lock the fuck in, of course. Three, the community that's in your area, the community, the school, they have to be establish a safe environment. So it's really gonna have to kind of continuously change like social stigmas. And we have to be fair, like even though obviously I do think we should like improve it, we have changed a lot in terms of like how men interact with women. Now other people have become like you're on Twitch. I can't say that. So, but regardless, when it comes down to it, we can do more in terms of like changing social behavior for sure.
We can say lots of things on Twitch. I'm not sure what you're going to
You
say.
say whatever
but
you want on Prime.
let's
Stream.
I
pretty
was gonna
much-
say incel. I don't know if that was like.
You can't say
Would-
incel.
I have no idea.
I think there are some words that like you can't use as insults. Like I think simp was one of them, right?
Yeah.
Like there was a change way back when they said like you can't use simp as an insult, but you can like say the word simp if you're just like describing something. I'm not sure if incel is on that
I
list. as
think it
well.
was, but
Yeah,
I
not
mean, it's
using
been
it
a
as an
while
insult, you're
since.
just describing
Yeah.
who you are.
I mean, yeah, and I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah.
one. That's not one that they like super enforce compared to other
Yeah.
words. They're like, hey, you said that, you better delete the VOD.
Yeah.
But-
Doobie. Doobie. You there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I'd like to know your opinion on what I've been asking about, right? Like, do you think this is the best that we can do? Do you think like so? These other guys were saying that like, hey, we have to change the culture, right? And I think a lot of people who aren't here, right, would push back against that. Like, okay, like, well, we've had decades of like changing the culture, and yes, there's been some improvements, certainly, right? But like we have like those take back the night marches, right? We have like we have movies and movies and movies talking about like the horrors of sexual assault, right? Like it's like raising awareness about breast cancer. No, I think we've done that. Like we're at the saturation point, right, on sexual assault. People know what it is, right? People know it's a bad thing. Like, do you think that we can like culture ourselves out of this? Do you think more has to be done? What are your thoughts?
No, I think you need like draconian punishment for people who violate the law.
I
I think you need to scare people into behaving. So I think some percentage of people will do bad things even if they know that they're bad, right? So if they've been cultured or conditioned to understand that these things are bad, obviously the issue isn't that they don't know it's bad, so they want to do it anyway. So I think you need fear at that point. And
So-
I don't think we use it enough.
So do be deterrence by fear, right?
Yeah.
So like, say we wanted to stop people from coming across the border, drone striking the illegal immigrants would be a deterrence by fear. You same kind of concept.
Or just open the border with spiders. Yeah, that would work.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
like I think there are some technological things that we can do, but it's like these are obviously not going to be palatable to most Americans because like this obsession with privacy. But like if it was mandatory to maintain a DNA database of all U.S. citizens, that will probably do something. If there was increased surveillance, that will also probably do something as well. But people have understandable issues with that level of intrusiveness, or let's say, all for the sake of privacy. There's reasons why there's not a maintained DNA
They've already had
database.
cold cases solved because of that, Corey, with like 23andMe and some of these. They're like, oh, well, since the government had access to a couple of these, they're like, wait, that's the blood
Yeah.
that matches some people.
And
that
now
died
just
because
think
of it.
if it was mandatory for you to have your DNA maintained in a database, that would probably do something. But people don't I understand why, but just realize that there's a cost to not having this.
Yeah, how draconian? Like, sorry, I know you want draconian punishments, Doobie, and okay, fair enough, right? I want them too for certain cases, but like probably not the same ones you're talking about. But in any case, so I know you want draconian punishments, but like, do you want draconian like countermeasures or like premeditations, like not premeditations, preemption, like so like what our friend Corey was talking about, like like a DNA database, or what our friend Gibbs is talking about, and Riddell as well, talking about expanding technological surveillance, right? Like one, like letting yeah, okay, you want that?
Yeah, like do you remember there was a big story about Flock, the cameras and how they're gonna I think that would actually be a very good thing, actually. I think absolutely, if not only would you find more lost dogs, but you'd catch more crime if all these cameras were linked in that way. So yeah, I think we do need we are going to move in that direction, and I think it's a good thing.
Shout out
I
pigeon
disagree.
drones, man. Shout out pigeon drones.
Like, wait, you want the thing from the end of the Dark Knight to be a reality?
What's the end of the Dark Knight?
That's when
oh yeah, actually yes.
The cell phones and the sonar, the bat sonar.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so like that seems like a horrible thing to me, because like I think there will be far less. Like I think we'll see the impact in like rape crimes be like, I mean, something, it'll be significant, I think, right? But like the thing that we'll see more often is just like government repression on a mass scale, right? I would think my conservative brothers and sisters would like dislike the government, right? The federal government having more power to track all you individuals. I mean, like, for fuck's sakes, like if the government just knew what Gibbs got up to, like I don't know, we'd see him again.
Don't worry, I'm with you on this one. I ain't no way I want that to exist.
I want all the Flock cameras all on Gibbs's property, just every square footage
All of them.
under surveillance.
Oh my goodness.
You'll see some shit. You don't want to see it, right?
I'm pretty unsure about the idea in general. Like, I don't really trust, especially with our current government in power. But to push the idea a little bit, there was a time and period where people were walking, doing whatever they wanted without cell phones. Cell phones added a whole new layer of security to people, being able to contact people, being able to contact the police, all that stuff. It changed. It was a technological like tool that would change how we perceive safety. Is it possible that we can't create more tools to even further increase safety?
I mean, that's what Flock is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like Doobie is right. Like, I don't particularly want the thing from the Dark Knight happening because it's like that's terrifying. I can just imagine like, oh, I said the word like, I don't know, socialism, talking shit about it. And they like
You want it on the border?
saying it. Do I want it on the border? No. Maybe I want like I don't know. I don't think so. They already have so much crazy shit.
Drone strikes,
I mean,
sonar.
but like. I think that's maybe my line, but like I think that it is going the way where AI is just gonna be able to put together data points it has access to.
We don't even really need AI.
Well, I mean, okay, it doesn't have to be AI. I think we're already getting.
I'm saying you already have like mass quantities of people posting their like day-to-day lives,
Sure.
whether it be on stories, Snapchat, or whatever it may be. Like you already.
My point is, exactly. It's gonna be able to correlate it from like, oh, Sally posted a picture at this cafe at 3:57 a.m. and you can see this guy's shoe in the background, and like this picture matches that. So, like, I think there's eventually gonna be a point where that just exists, right? And so they're gonna be using it. And I think maybe that'll lead to like, no, you can't prove because they didn't see the crime itself, but it could prove like, oh, maybe we can civilly something happened. I think maybe now, as opposed to what Doobie's saying, he wants the thought police. I don't know. I'm a little sussed out about that.
This is what
I think the issue. I think the issue isn't that the government would have a lot of information. I think you guys are afraid of what they would do with it. But I think part of the issue is that we kind of live in a two-tiered system, or even three-tiered system actually, where people with political power and money don't really have to deal with the justice system in the way that the rest of us do, so they can get away with doing all kinds of crazy shit. And if you're a politician and you're corrupt, nothing happens. You know, if you're that's like a
Rich and
massive
corrupt.
CEO and you're corrupt, nothing happens. So like I feel like that's part of what we need to change. You know, so we need draconian punishments for them too. Like brutal punishments for them too.
I think he's actually Skynet. I think that's what Doobie is. Doobie's actually Skynet in disguise,
Doobie
bro.
is an AI. Doobie is.
I think
That's what I think. He was telling us he was talking to the AI, and I think he might actually be in the AI the whole time.
Just so you guys know, that's what our friend Gibbs was describing earlier. That's what like Palantir does. Is they're not necessarily like collecting the data. They've just like figured out a very efficient way of collating data, like mass amounts of data from all these like disparate databases, and then presenting that in an easy to digest way to the government. So like you're saying like that's going to exist one day. We're kind of already there. Like we're basically there's improvements to be made, but like we're kind of there already. And like adding things like Flock, right? Like adds to the issue, right? Like it gives more centralized databases for the government to run these things. Like and like for Flock, right? Like literally the same thing happened with Flock that's happened with every single one of these other centralized surveillance systems, right? The law enforcement agents who have access to it use it to stalk their partners, their romantic partners. They just like they found like a bunch of guys. I think they were arrested. I'm not sure if they were arrested or not, but they found right a whole slew of cops who are doing exactly that, like stalking either their current partners or their ex-partners, right? Because yes, that's what they do, right? When the database that Snowden revealed, right, like the U.S. government collating a ton of like phone data and shit, right? Like that thing, yeah, those the FBI agents or NSA agents, whatever, right? They did the exact same fucking thing. Right, like this is just like what's happened in these cases, right? And then specifically to like even access the database, like when we're talking about Flock, right? Well, you don't need a warrant for that, right? You don't have to get a judge to sign up, right? So like law enforcement can just kind of do whatever with it, right?
Let's say that happened, right? So they were stalking their exes or whatever. So if that happened, and then the next step of the story wasn't that they got put on leave for a while, or they got written up or something, was that they were publicly caned on TV, hit 30 times with a fucking like with a metal rod or something, and then they were put in jail for 10 years, right? I think that kind of justice is brutal justice. So there is a punishment for these people that we put into trust positions that then violate that trust. I think not only would that reduce the amount of people willing to risk that in these positions, I think that it would reignite trust in our government, in our society, because we're seeing that the system does work for everybody. That there is punishment for people who are in positions of power.
Okay,
so I think that's what we're missing right now.
Would you extend that, Doobie, to like say hypothetically, because I know you've also said that we need like change our societal like norms too. So say these cops, whatever, were stalking their significant others, male or female, and they found out they were right and they were cheating. Would you like also cane the people that were actually cheating?
Yeah,
cheating?
absolutely.
Okay, cool. Just so the cheaters get caned and the
Well,
stalkers.
I think I don't know, not the cheaters. I'm saying that even if the cops are right,
so
I think that they should still be caned. Yeah.
Okay,
but
but it's fine to be cheating.
People for fucking spitting gum on the street, like I think we can cane cops for violating the trust that we put in them. Yeah.
But this wouldn't be like Prime's community court where the cheater gets caned for breaking community norms.
I'm not sure if I would include cheating as like a.
I'm just saying.
You just post them on TikTok and they'll be publicly shamed. There you go.
Yeah.
Also, there's also ways to create like technology that doesn't have to necessarily break your privacy. Like maybe you could create something where maybe it's wearable. This off top of the dome, I have no idea if this thing exists or if it even makes sense. But you can create a wearable device, whether it's around your waist or maybe on your upper thigh. And if like a certain amount of physical force is like emitted near it or on it, then it kind of rings and it's like, oh, this is bad. And maybe you have to deactivate it or something like that. Like devices out there where it can have like a trigger signal or at the very least a notification of harm do exist already. And you can modify something like that to protect people, like or protect women or men that are in like precarious sexual situations. So there's like other things you can do that doesn't necessarily have to take your private data.
I mean, an impact sensor, but like, okay, so you're saying you want an impact sensor that like triggers when a certain level of impact happens. I mean, we do have those, but like it would have to be reported somewhere to be effective, right? If it just like makes a sound, it's like okay. I mean, like that's a rape
Yeah,
whistle,
911.
otherwise, right? Okay, so it goes to 911. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And it's off the top of your dome, so it's like it's fine, right? And I hear you. Like you're saying, like you want to. The premise what you're getting to is that hey, like let's like try to figure out some creative ways to help with this. But like I think part of the problem here, and again, we don't have. There are other people who can make this case better than I could, right? Is that like our society doesn't actually take rape seriously? That there's like a whole bunch of situations where like it's just like fine or whatever, right? Like here's a problem, right? And now Doobie's like I guess is maybe the only one maybe pushing back against this, but like a thing is that like we've seen cases where like the judge like the guy gets convicted of sexual assault, all right? But just like I don't want to ruin this guy's life, He's a fine, upstanding young man. He reminds me of me when I was young, right? And he just didn't know what the fuck, right? And then he gets like a slap on the wrist. Like things like this happen within the justice system. And like we don't get we traumatize victims going through the justice system. And then like juries, like for whatever reason, and for a variety of reasons, don't like want to convict, even if there's sufficient evidence this time, right? And then even then, like the consequences that they have to face maybe not be as strong as you might expect, right? So it seems like it's just like a much bigger issue. And my thing is like I'm not sure if the court system is the best way to handle it. Now you guys have all brought up like good pushback, right? Counter arguments to the thing I brought up, right? Fair. But like I don't know if the court system is just designed for this. Like I just don't know. Like
I think part of the issue you're kind of like talking about, Prime, is what is actually justice though, right? Like so whenever you have like these things that can be like kind of like dubious, or it's like he said she said, or like vice versa or whatever, where it's like whatever, you have to go okay, what is justice? Is ruining this person's life, and then like versus like something that could be impactful a different way. Like one person might say, oh, it's a sexual assault if the guy just told me to like spin around, right? It's another person might say, oh, it was a sexual assault, then it'd be like, oh, he like physically touched me, and then others might be even like more extreme, and they'd be okay with other things up to that point, right? Just depending on a life they've been. Now that might say different things about that person, but like this kind of like what affects one person one way might not affect another, and they all might meet a certain metric of like a definition of assault, right? Like and it's kind of thing. So then you have like the damage aspect to like individual people is going to vary quite a bit across the spectrum. Then you have like what's the justice for this? Like is it this guy having this? So like say we all agree that it's a sexual assault to like have a guy go and like say spit around, right? Like, but then it's more egregious if they do something like physical, right? And they say they go and do this. All right, what's the like scale? Is that going to be the same amount of damage? Is the justice going to be like to ruin this person's life over the spin around comment that it would be this? And so I think when you have all these different like factors with like what is justice, what is restitution, what is with like what is like I don't know, what is it even in the first place? I think that like it's kind of like hard to like narrow down specifics and like say, oh, this is like worse, do we ignore it? I think that's kind of where this like problem lies. There's so many different like gray areas that like go across like a different broad spectrum of issues here, like in this. Like in the scale, like one person versus they did 50 kids, like you know what I'm saying? If they're like a chronic one, I don't know.
Gibbs, like, what would you say about like a social credit score like they have in China? Like, so if somebody was a cheater, if they could prove that their former partner could prove that they cheated, then they would take a social credit score hit, right? And which would get them like less access to public services, higher interest rates, higher bus fares, whatever the fuck it is. I think that might actually be very good. That's a very good way to shift the culture over.
I could be open to that if it wasn't ran by the government.
Why?
Who would it be ran by?
It would have to be like it would have to be like several different. It would have to be like kind of like you do a normal credit score. It'd have to be like a combination of 3 like different like things. So you have like, oh, okay, I have like Experian social score, like Credit Karma social credit score, and then whoever the third person would be, right? And they would sit here and have your like, I don't know, like FICO, right? And you'd have these 3, and they would go and use this, and like you'd go, okay, it's a combination of the 3, and then maybe you have supplementary credit scores, like you have your renter score as well as your like house score, like all these other ones you could like factor in. I think I would, but I wouldn't want it to be the government just because I don't trust the government. I think the government would be like, oh, if you're a Democrat or oh, you're a Republican, then you get minus 500 on the credit score, and then we're gonna lock you up or some shit.
I don't
like,
trust the government, and I don't trust markets. This is
Yeah,
a horrible
I mean,
idea. There's no way we.
why
should
don't
allow
you like the
money.
private one, Doobie? I'm sorry. Yeah, if you don't trust either, that's no good though. I don't like it. Love the
I
idea.
think because I'm talking about like restricting. I mean, if there was, I wouldn't mind a private one, to be honest with you. But for what I'm thinking, it would require like the government, because I'm talking about like restricting access to public services, or like I said, higher bus rates or something, or less, or you lose preferred seating if you're going to get on the subway or some shit, and there's like a cap on how many people can be in the subway. And then if you have a low social credit score, you're the first person out. Sort of.
I mean, like,
know?
how arbitrary are these? Like, credit? I don't know. It would have to be pretty egregiously like monoculture, I guess, where it's like everybody. in
Well,
the
how do they
world
do it
agrees
in
on this.
China?
Well, I mean,
Okay,
China,
what
yeah,
about-
because China's what I want to emulate. They're like, oh, you know what? You're
no,
Muslim.
China's
You're
doing pretty
Muslim.
well.
Your
China's
credit
doing
score
pretty
is 0. We can put you in a concentration camp. Like, you know.
That's not how it works.
I mean,
They might put you in a
yeah.
re-education center, but that's not actually a bad thing. Some people need to be re-educated.
I'm not talking about
Like,
the
we already have re-education centers in the U.S. and in Europe that we have for people with extremist ideologies. I don't think that's that unusual.
Yeah, I don't know about.
I
listen,
hate everything
I don't
that's
trust the
being
government
said. I just
running
wanna
that
make
shit.
very clear. I hate everything that's being said right now.
Yeah, I don't.
What's wrong with that?
I'll
Hold on,
tell
so
you.
wait, hold on. We actually do
Because I would like to be stay in the in group, and listen, any in group can get got that way, bro.
Rehabilitation. We're getting them ready to be a productive citizen or whatever the fuck. That's re-education. That's what we're actually doing there. We're trying to shift their mindset from what they were to something that we prefer them to be. That's all that is.
That is the rehabilitation process.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but that's also the process of brainwashing too. You sit it down, make them watch like
People need to
50
be
hours.
brainwashed.
Oh,
Some people are mentally fucked. They've learned terrible things. They need to be taught out of those terrible things.
yeah, I'm gonna pass on the
what's the
government
issue?
ran one.
Okay,
I like the
genuinely.
private ran one. I'll tell you genuinely, the problem is that listen, that's well and good until like the side you don't want gets in there. Right, and then all of a sudden they're re-educating you, and like this, like it won't even happen in my lifetime. Maybe it'll happen in my grandkids' lifetime. It's gonna happen in somebody's lifetime. Like every system is doomed to eventually have somebody corrupt take over. And that's kind of like why you like wanted like the refresh with the Tree of Liberty and shit. That's why we have voting where you vote people out. This is why I'm like okay with one corrupt party that's a new corrupt party coming in and wiping out the old corrupt. Just sometimes you need to burn out the rot. Like and the problem is though when that happens, you have somebody that's like crazy or come in and be like, you know what, all the whites are going to the concentration camps this week, or all the blacks, or somebody. It doesn't matter. They're gonna have somebody that's gonna be like, hey, you best what your social credit score is 0 if you're this group. And I don't particularly want to be in group with the social credit score of 0 ran by the government. Now the private system, they'll have to at least get it across like several different groups and supplementary groups. And I don't think that would be as like likely as a possibility. Even then I still don't particularly love the idea, but
I don't know. I feel like being afraid that at some point, somewhere down the road, someone's going to take the power that the government has and do terrible things with it. I mean, that's just an argument for no government at all, right? So we shouldn't trust
that's
government
not
with any
my
power
argument.
ever, because at some point, someone
there's
we don't like is
guardrails.
going to come to power, and they're going to use it to murder us, whatever the fuck. Yeah, I mean that could happen, of course.
yeah, but some
like,
things make it way
I feel like
easier
we
than other
shouldn't be-
things. Like
No,
like
but we shouldn't be designing the system for like the most extreme potential downfall, right? I think it makes a lot more sense, and we'd reap a lot more benefit in the meantime if we did have some kind of social credit system that
yeah. But what are the things on
blacklisted
here?
certain types of ideologies, certain types of behaviors, punish people who did those things, not criminally, but just made it harder to be a citizen if you're going to do these sorts of things. I think it's totally fine.
Oh, you're right. Oh, you shopped at the same store as this guy that was a dissident, so now you lose 60 credit points, and that means we
Or
can take
you're
you
a
down.
revolutionary communist, right? Or a anarcho-capitalist or some shit, or a sovereign citizen, right? So because you have an ideology that is detrimental to the people around you, to the country, it's going to be harder for you to get a loan or something. Now, fuck you. It's totally fine.
I want to explore this, but I want to give an outro to because especially we have a new person here. I want to allow them to leave at the time that I said they could leave. Um, so I'll give an outro. I'll end things here. You guys still want to talk afterwards? You can. And you can examine Doobie's insanity. But I just want to make sure everyone knows they can leave. So, but I'll quickly say thanks everyone for being here. This has been a lot of fun. Shout out to everyone. I'll give everyone a chance to give us some outro. But like, yeah, hit the follow button if you haven't done so already, and consider supporting the channel if you can. Any way that you can. It means a lot. Corey, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure and grateful to be invited. You can find me on Twitch, Corey Campbell 84, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, Substack, TikTok. It's Corey Campbell. And I'm sad that we did not get to examine Lactoid's poor approach to dating, but maybe next week. But yeah, Doobie, Ali, Gibbs, always a pleasure. Nice to meet you, Riddell, and love you, Brian.
Thanks so much. Okay, let's go to our friend Gibbs.
Damn.
Thanks so much for everything.
Thank you so much for having me. Damn, Corey, we didn't get to talk about that. That's a mistake. And then I would like to continue this conversation at a different time. I have to leave at the end of this. So, but I do think that's actually interesting. There's a few different ways I'd like to look at that that we were talking about here, Doobie. So I'd be open to continue this further in the future. Also, I won't be here next week, sad times, but it's for a good reason because I will be in Vegas on the #1 rated show on Apple, business show on Apple. Apparently, it's the Social Hour with Sean Kelly. So exciting times. So that's where I'll be. So check that out. But then hopefully I'll be back after that. Yeah. So that's going on here for me in my life. And as always, thanks for having me. And I guess, yeah, don't be a creep. And maybe guys don't put your kids in the scouts. We all know that they were sus. Like, come on. Like, that's on the parents, really.
Wait, Gibbs, you knew it and you said nothing? Another
No, I said it. No. We
point.
said it. Listen, always the Boy Scouts we knew always were kind of the weird ones. And we were like, nah, man, maybe don't hang out with that guy. We warned people. We warned them off. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, not another protector. That's crazy work, Corey. But yeah, thanks for having me as always. Till next time.
So about the social credit topic, I think that like maybe we could do it. But like one, Doobie needs to be here because it was gonna be the main one to defend this thing. And I guess we could do it as a planned topic, or we could do it like a pre-topic. If that's fine.
Yeah.
Doobie, like
Sure.
whenever. Yeah. Because I actually don't want to stop it here because I want to hear more about this, but like I want to give people a chance to leave. But Riddell, thank you for coming. I thought you did a great job. I think everyone liked you here. So we'd love to have you back in the future.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I think this was fun. I don't typically do debates, not that I can't do it, but it's just like I typically focus on talking about like policy stuff. That's just like what I do. Like I said, I have a podcast, Purple Political Breakdown. I have a new episode coming out on Tuesday where I spoke with the independent candidate for the Idaho Senate election, Todd Achilles, and we spoke about policy. He was a very interesting candidate. Honestly, I wouldn't be mad if he won obviously over MAGA because MAGA sucks, but even over the Democratic candidate. He has really good like Democratic progressive policies that are pretty cool. With that said, I also have like an upcoming conversation with another candidate. He's very young, progressive. That one should be very interesting as well. So for the most part, I talk politics, I talk policy, I talk solutions. Currently, I'm in the scope of going into the Supreme Court packing conversation, doing my research there. And that's one's pretty interesting. So that's all I got. When I'm not talking policy, I'm shitting on MAGA or leftists. So that's pretty much what I got.
Our friend Lactwood had to leave earlier, the lawyer. He's pretty passionate about court packing and like being against court packing. So might be someone you want to reach out to. Good guest there. All right. Well, thank you. And yeah, I'll send you invites in the future. We'd love to have you again.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to our friend Ali. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Thanks for having me, man. I love being here. It's always a great time. My favorite day of the week is my Monday evenings. So I look forward to next week. If available, I'd really like to talk about that Chud the Builder bullshit. That's been still kind of taking up my feed.
Okay, yeah. Let's do it if we have some black people around here.
I don't
Talk
know what
about that.
is. I'll have to be
We've had
informed.
black people both panels this week, and we doubted it, which is fair.
and
Which is fair.
you
Which
haven't
is
made
fair.
it a thing. You haven't made
Yeah.
it a thing. It's up to
Well,
you.
we got swept up last week, and then we promised Hunter this week. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. We'll. I mean, we'll get there.
And Hunter still left early.
And Hunter still left early. Yeah. Yeah, he did actually. And last but not least, we have our good friend DB. Happy to have you here. You had such an interesting topic there, Dan. I wish we had more time for that because I actually do want to talk about it, especially if someone can make a strong case for social credit scores. I think that's super interesting. I'm not sure if I know anyone else is going to make a really strong case, but like I know you can handle yourself, DB. So
Because you guys
yeah.
need to decolonize your mind. Okay, that's the problem.
Well, I don't know that I make a strong
You
case.
bought into
but
Western propaganda.
I think
I
we
think it
already
matters.
operate on social credit scores, so it's really
Yeah, in a lot of ways we do. I
to
just
have a
want to-
number
Yeah.
isn't really that crazy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways we can explore that. Really, I mean, but
Okay.
But yeah, thanks for having me.
I
I'm
don't
Ruby.
want
I
any
run the-
institution establishing my value at all. Personally, I'm good.
I run the politics server on Discord, discord.gg/politics. The best and biggest politics server on the platform. That's me. Yeah.
Okay.
you.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we raid out to our friend Admiral Gibbs, right?
I'm getting off. I'm also getting off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm
all right.
leaving. But
All
thank
right,
you.
well then I'll rate out to this chick. All right. I'll just do my usual thing. Okay. I'll rate out to the chick. Yeah, like I would love to explore this. I'll write it down. But yeah, DB, like if you have a moment in the future, I'd love to explore this topic. I think it's like super
Yeah, sounds
interesting. Yeah. All right. The rate is out. Thanks everybody. Have a good one.
Take care.